Sir, the defendant approached you about writing an article
Yes.
about you for a class that he was taking. Is this a college class?
This is, yes.
You are a street musician?
Part of my job, yes.
Well, I assume that that's the part he was interested in.
Yes.
And you agreed to allow him to write the article.
Mm-hmm.
Then, according to you, the article was published in a school magazine or a school newspaper. And within that article was a statement by the defendant that you used marijuana on a regular basis.
Yes.
You say that that's caused you all kinds of problems. You're involved in a custody dispute about your children with your former wife or girlfriend, and you say that this has created all kinds of problems for you. And aside from that, it's not true, because you went and took a drug test, and I assume you have the results of the drug test for me.
Yes, ma'am.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 24-year-old musician Robert Parsons is suing 22-year-old student Andrew Arthur for libel and defamation of character. Robert says Andrew wrote a newspaper article claiming he was a marijuana smoker.
Okay. Had you met the defendant prior to his approaching you about writing this article?
No, that was the first time I met him. I was playing on the street in Morgantown, West Virginia, and he approached me and said that he would like to write an article about me if it was okay with me. I told him that was fine. All I wanted was a copy of the article when he was done with it, and he agreed to that. And then I spent the next 4 or 5 months trying to get a copy of it.
Okay. Aside from seeing you play on the street, did he go anywhere else with you?
He came to my home.
How many times?
I would say 5.
Who else lives with you?
Robin?
This is Robin.
Yes.
Anybody else?
No.
You have a former wife?
Former girlfriend.
How many children do you have with this girlfriend?
3.
How old are they?
5, 4, and 2.
Didn't feel like making a commitment to marriage?
No.
You don't believe in marriage?
No, it's not that I don't believe in it. It just wasn't the right person.
I understand that, but I don't understand 5, 4, and 2.
I was just young and made mistakes.
But just my own information, because I always find this sort of interesting. You're not prepared to make the commitment because he wasn't the right person for you, but was the right person to have 3 children with.
Well, I'd asked her to marry me on a couple of occasions, and she denied it.
She said no?
Yes. But she's married now. She got married a month after we broke up.
You have a copy of the article?
I have a copy of the article as it appeared in the newspaper.
That's what I'd like to see.
Sure.
Now, when did Mr. Arthur tell you that it was going to be published?
He never did tell me.
Okay. So your complaint is about this one paragraph.
Mostly, yes.
Robbie smokes some pot. He puffs carefully from a green and orange tinted bowl. This is his usual routine before I sit.
Yes.
And what you're saying to me is that's not true.
Absolutely not.
Mr. Arthur?
It's very true. Mr. Parsons has made statements on the record, and I've recorded them as part of an immersion story in journalism. I spent a lot of time with Mr. Parsons.
I'm asking you about the pot smoking, sir. Don't give me a whole tirade.
Okay.
You say that you actually observed him smoking marijuana?
Yes.
On how many occasions?
I observed it once.
How do you know it's his usual routine?
He mentioned it.
What did he say?
He said this is what he does before city. He has some pot, strums on a guitar, warms up a little bit.
Okay. Mr. Parsons, what kind of custody dispute are you involved with your former girlfriend?
Basically, I'm supposed to see the kids every weekend. When she saw this article, she wrote me a letter and told me I couldn't see him until I got this matter cleared up. So I went and I took my drug test 2 days after the article came out. I have a copy of that here if you'd like to see it.
I'd like to take a look at it.
And I also have the letter she sent me. And it took me 3 weeks before I could get a hold of her before I could show her that I have the drug results, because she wasn't answering her phone.
You took a urine test?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. The issue is a very simple one. You agreed to have him write an article about you. Mm-hmm. He says he reported what he saw and heard, and you say it's not true.
Absolutely.
So there's a very simple way of establishing that, and that is with the hair follicle test. Mm-hmm. Have you taken a hair follicle test?
No.
As you probably know, marijuana will stay within your bloodstream for between 24 and 48 hours on a urine test. Was that explained to you?
No.
Otherwise, it just dissipates out of the body. That's why in courts we don't usually use these drug tests unless we suspect someone is high at the moment that they're before us. What they came up with about 8 years ago was a hair follicle test, because when you smoke marijuana, it stays in the hair follicles. It stays in the hair for about 6 or 8 months. And not only does it stay in the hair, but the laboratory can tell how long ago it was used, depending upon where they find the traces of the drug. Now, do you understand?
Yes.
So, are you prepared to take that test?
Sure.
He is suing you for $5,000. Mm-hmm. And clearly, in my judgment, if A hair follicle test establishes that he did not use marijuana. Certainly your article would be a lie. Do you understand?
I understand that.
And he would be entitled to a judgment, in my opinion, for the $5,000. And you would agree with that?
I would.
And you are prepared to stick by your statement that you not only observed him smoking marijuana, but he told you that he did it as a regular routine?
Yes.
Okay. Do you smoke marijuana? I is not an answer,
no.
Mr. Arthur.
I have, yes.
So you were not appalled by his statement?
I was not.
You were not appalled by what you saw, that he was smoking some marijuana? No. So it wasn't nutsy to you that somebody was doing that, right? Because you did it yourself, right?
I've done it, yes.
Okay. Got it, Mr. Parsons?
Absolutely.
So I will have my clerk arranged for the test. I expect both of you back here after the test results are forwarded to the court. Clear?
Yes.
Very good. Thank you very much. The case is adjourned.
This is case number 170 on the calendar, the matter of Sowers versus Manhart. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks have seats.
Ms. Sowers, for how long have you known the defendant?
Approximately 5 years.
In what way do you know him?
I had an affair with him at one time 5 years ago.
And recently, according to what I read, you moved in with him.
At that time, I had left my husband. I lived in my truck for 1 week. I had nowhere else to go, and I asked him if I could rent a room. He agreed to that with a verbal rental agreement, that I pay the electric bill, and that was it. Everything else would be taken care of.
Okay.
Yeah,
and
that's not right.
I'll get to you in a minute. When did you move in?
I moved in approximately August 12th, 2002.
And how long did you stay?
I stayed until October 19th. At that time, I told him I was moving out, that the atmosphere at his house, I had to find myself. I was very confused at that time. Leaving my husband, being there, the alcohol that was involved was a little too much.
Whose, his or yours?
It was both at the time, and I wanted to get away from that.
Okay. According to your complaint, you moved out and he did not let you get your stuff.
No.
The defendant says that he got tired of storing your property, kept it for a while. Put your hands down, sir. Got tired of storing it and ultimately got rid of it. How large an apartment or a house do you have?
I have a 3-bedroom house.
Was she renting a room?
There was no verbal agreement as far as one electric bill versus this, that, and the other. It was.
Well, what was the agreement? Was there any?
The agreement was just she was going to help pay this, that, and the other. There was really nothing discussed on it.
So there
She
was
said
nothing.
She didn't even have a job when she first moved
So
in.
there was no formal agreement with regard to rent?
No.
Did she ever come back after the 19th or the 20th to get back some of her clothing?
Yes, roughly about 3 months later, a little after 3 months.
But not before that?
No, I begged, pleaded, groveled, did everything that I offered to get a trailer to get your stuff out of there.
I never did.
Just a second, don't
turned down
speak to
Harry
each other.
numerous
Look,
times.
listen to me. Mr. Manhart, look at me. If you want to talk to her, you do that outside. You want to be in court, you talk to me. She left on October 19th.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Where did you go?
I rented.
Look at me.
I rented a room in a beach condo.
With somebody else or alone?
With someone else.
With whom?
That was with Henry.
And how long did you live with Henry?
Still am today, still sharing rent.
When you left on October 19th, did you take your clothes?
I took one bag, and I told him that I was making arrangements to get my stuff, to let me know what was, a good time for him to move the stuff. And he said that he was busy this weekend, and next weekend he wasn't going to be in town, and, it was on and on.
Well, we're talking about October. What about November? How many times did you contact him in November?
November, approximately 3 times.
And you told
phone
him,
calls and stopping by.
And you told him you wanted to get your things?
Yes.
And he said you can't get your things?
He never had a convenient time.
Well, when you stopped by, was he at home?
Yes, he was.
And he said you can't come in and get your things?
He would step outside the front door and say, "Can I help you?" and go like this and stand there and smile at me.
Now, in November, when you couldn't get all of your property, when for the first time did you go to small claims court to sue him for your property in November?
I went to small claims court in May.
I want you to answer my question.
Okay.
When in November did you go to small claims court?
I didn't at that time. I did not have money.
When in December did you go to small claims court?
I didn't. It's more than a small filing
January,
fee.
February, March, April, October, November, December, January, February, March, April.
During that time, Your Honor, I had my mother pass away the end of October. That was an airline ticket I had to buy at the last minute. It was a trip. It was unexpected. I talked to him from Ohio. He gave me his condolences. And then he said that I owed him storage money.
That's not true.
Doesn't make any difference to me. What I want to know is, what took you from October of 2002 till May of 2003 to decide you needed this property? Property that you evidently got along without
No, it
October,
closed
November,
my
December,
business.
January, February, March, April,
You
May,
never
for
had
8
a
months.
business.
I did have a
You should
business, Your
screwing
Honor.
people over.
Hey,
What do you mean you had a business?
He has possession of an embroidery machine that cost me $15,000.
Then, madam, what I would have done is lickety-split in November. If he had a piece of property that you had that was worth $15,000, I would absolutely have forfeited a lot of other stuff and even asked old Henry, with whom you are now living, do me a favor, I need $30 to go and file a small claims court case.
I finally got enough money together.
How much did it cost you?
It cost me $198.50. And during that time, I've been paying on a machine that I didn't have possession of.
You know, I'm unmoved. You do have a sewing machine that belongs to that you say...
Yes, it is damaged.
And how did it get damaged?
My ceiling caved in. I have an addition that's off the back of my house. The roof started leaking. I have a 4x8 sheet of drywall. It fell. Matter of fact, it tore up my bed.
But you have it.
Yes.
Okay, and you have no problem
I
returning
have
it?
no problem whatsoever.
Okay. Do you have any other of her property?
No, ma'am.
What did you do with all the rest of her property?
I put it to the curb. After 3 months, I got tired of it.
What?
I got tired of tripping around it going into my bedroom. I got tired of tripping on it going through the kitchen. I got tired of just even looking at it.
Now,
and
Mr.
dealing with it.
Manhart, you say that you asked her to come and get her stuff. When
Yes,
did you
numerous
ask her to
times.
come and get her stuff?
Numerous times. I'd ask, will you come and get it on Friday? No. Friday go to Sunday. Sunday go to Wednesday. And
Look at me.
We did this for ages. I even contacted
Who is this
her husband.
person?
That's my father.
Step up. Were you ever involved, Mr. Manhart, in any...
Yes, ma'am. I was over at his house a couple of times when he talked with her, and I offered to unload it right there and take it to wherever she wanted. She didn't have time to do it. This happened twice.
Your Honor, I even contacted her husband and begged and pleaded, and I told him I'd take everything and put it right back to the same driveway it came from. That man said, I do not want to have anything to do with her. He already filed a restraining order on her and all like
Listen
that.
to
He
me.
wouldn't even accept the property
Listen.
back.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He's too lazy to get up off the couch with his beer to carry anything out.
You were
I'm
always
sorry.
drunk on vodka.
I haven't drank in 7 months. I'm sorry.
And later today,
He was like really drunk and really upset, so me and Andrew locked ourselves in my bedroom, and he was banging on the door so hard it broke the door, and then like he just like passed out after that.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Tawny Sowers says ex-roommate Gary Manhart Jr. won't return her belongings. Gary says she's been dragging this out for months.
Miss Sowers has a difficult case because she waited 8 months to do what she could have done 8 months ago. I don't believe that she made efforts to get her property until 8 months later.
I thought
and
it'd be
I'm
worth it.
speaking. I'm speaking, and I do believe that you told her, get your stuff out of here. And she didn't. You do have her sewing machine or whatever embroidery machine it is.
Yes.
If you have it, you have to return it. If she can have it fixed,
That's
she can have
fine.
it fixed. It's to be returned to her within 5 days.
Sure.
She will make arrangements to come and pick it up. Or maybe your father can.
I'm willing to take it to wherever she wants.
Fine. Where do you want it?
I want it at my house, but I also have something to add to that.
What?
Okay, during that time, the stress with him, he put me off so many times. I had the people to go and pick up the stuff
Miss
and the
Sowers,
trucks.
Miss Sowers,
you didn't.
you're getting back your sewing machine. Period.
He
End of
has
discussion.
sentimental items
what?
there.
He got rid of everything. He doesn't have everything. He said he put
He's
it all
too
around
lazy
the
to
car.
get up off the couch with his beer
Listen
to
to
carry
me.
anything out.
You were
I'm
always
sorry.
drunk on vodka.
Listen to me very carefully.
And I haven't drank in 7 months. I'm sorry.
Listen to me. You waited, madam, too long.
Starting over is very hard. He had
Miss Sowers,
everything.
the courts do not get involved with how hard it is to start over. I don't
He
believe
had my
that he has the
clothing. I had to
responsibility.
buy the clothing.
I don't believe that he
Keyword
has
is
the
had.
responsibility, madam, of storing your property for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks,
He
4
held it
weeks,
constant.
4 weeks. I'm telling you, he doesn't have that responsibility. You had the ability, when you left his house, to take clothes, to take a carton. He wasn't there when you left, so you had the ability to take whatever you
No.
wanted to take, and if you left the rest of the stuff and made no efforts through the courts to get it, I find you abandoned it. It's as simple as that. 5 days from today, you get your sewing machine back. All other parts of your claim are dismissed. Thank you, that's all.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Why is our excuse? You may step out.
He wanted a mother, someone to take care of him, someone to pay the bills.
There's a lot of untruths, so it doesn't really matter.
I don't drink anymore. My eyes are wide open, and I will be back.
I'm glad I don't ever have to see her again in my life.
I'm going forward.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Marks versus Copeland. Step forward.
18-year-old student Zana Marks is suing her ex-boyfriend, 20-year-old pizza deliverer Michael Copeland, for an unpaid loan, the return of her PlayStation, and stabbing her furniture. Michael says he was too drunk to remember.
Ms. Marks, you and the defendant lived together for a period of time. Your complaint is threefold. First, you say that he took some property when he moved out, and you want half the value of that property because the property belonged to both of you. Second, you claim that he later came back and in a drunken rage at some point caused all kinds of damage to your home and to your property. And third, that he owes you for a loan that you made to him approximately a year ago in the amount of $750. Mr. Copeland says that the only property he took when he moved out was property that belonged to him, that he was too drunk to remember doing any damage to your apartment the day he came back, but that it is so out of character for him to have done any damage that he's sure he didn't do it. Correct?
Yes.
And third, that the $750 that you claim was a loan was actually a gift because he bought a stereo with that, and there was never any discussion of the repayment of that money. So
That's true.
far, is that right?
Yeah.
Did I get it right?
Yes.
Good. Tell me when you moved in together, Miss Marks, and when Mr. Copeland left.
We moved in 3 years ago together. Probably, actually two and a half.
2, 3. Give me a month and a year, please.
December of '01,
And when did Mr. Copeland move out?
May of '03.
Were you working from December of 2001 until May of 2003?
No.
And what about Mr. Copeland?
Yeah, he worked at a liquor store and then pizza delivery.
How are you supporting yourself?
My mom supports me. I go to school, and I was in high school. I just turned 18, and now I go to Citrus.
So you were living with Mr. Copeland when you were a minor?
Yeah, he lived with me and my mom for 6 months, 7 months, and then my mom moved out, and it was just me and him, and then I got a roommate, which is Andrew, who's over there.
Did you have any sort of relationship with him?
Yeah, he was my boyfriend.
Let me try to put this together. You were living in this apartment with your mother.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Copeland moved in.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Because he got kicked out of his parents' house.
Was he your boyfriend at the time?
Yes.
So your mother took him in.
Yeah.
And how old are you now?
I'm 20.
So you were 18, you moved in with us, she was 16.
Yes.
And how old were you when your mother moved out?
18.
Where did she go?
She moved with her boyfriend in Phillips Ranch.
Leaving you and Mr. Copeland.
Yes.
And who paid the rent in this place?
I paid half, and he paid the other half.
Is that right?
Yeah, I paid my half.
What was the rent?
The rent was originally $800, and then we got a roommate and moved to 9, so we all paid $300.
How large a place is this?
3 bedrooms, 2 baths.
Now, you had an argument, it didn't work out, whatever. You were moving out.
Yeah.
And what items did you take with you when you left?
Took my clothes, my PlayStation, my games.
Now, what is it that you claim Miss Marks belongs to you?
The PlayStation took was half mine, and
How was it half yours?
because we went halves on it, like, we bought it together.
Is that right?
No. It was my money because I was the only one that had a job at the time, and I paid
Yeah.
for it with my money.
No, I had money because my grandma gives me money and my mom gives me money.
Did you pay for this in check?
And I paid for it in cash.
How am I supposed to tell who paid for it?
I don't know, but other than
I
that,
don't know
though,
either.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Zana Mark says ex-boyfriend Michael Copeland owes for a loan, the return of her belongings, and property damage.
Now let's get to the $750 that you claim was a loan. Tell me about it.
in about August, end of July, beginning of August,
Of what year?
'02, I lent him money because he wanted a system for his car, and he didn't have all the money by himself because he was working, I think, at the liquor store for his uncle. Then actually, no, this was when he was not working at all. It was a period when he did not have a job at all. So I lended him the rest of the money so he could get his system and his car. And my friend here, Tana, she saw me lend him the money. She knows that it was a loan, and I asked for it back. And we were going out, so it wasn't a big deal that he wasn't paying me back right away. And then once we broke up and we had a bad breakup, I'm like, pay me back my money.
She gave me the money.
How much money did she give you?
She gave me $750 to help me for my stereo system in my truck.
Why did somebody who was unemployed need a $750 stereo system?
I don't know.
Well, think of a reason.
I really wanted it.
You mean there was nothing else that you wanted that was more important than a stereo system in your car when you're unemployed? How about wanting a job?
I had a job coming in a couple weeks.
And you couldn't wait?
No, Your Honor.
Does that make you sound pretty stupid?
Yes.
So pay her back her money. Do you understand? She's going to school. She's getting money from her mother, who left her in your custody because you're 2 years older, to go live with her boyfriend. So her grandmother gives her money, her mother gives her money, and she's going, did you graduate from high school?
Yes.
Perfect. So you got a lot of nerve taking the money from her anyway. If you want to be a fool with your own money, that's your problem. Don't be a fool with her money. Now, you want to tell me about this damaged property?
Okay, like a few days after we broke up, he came over, he was upset because like there was some like misconceptions that I cheated on him when we were going out, and this is the reason he broke up with me. And so he was mad about that, you know, that's going to upset someone, of course. And so he came back over, and like he was really had been drinking a lot that night, and he was really upset, and he just like he broke the table.
Which table?
He carved into it, the kitchen dining room table, and he was like really drunk and really upset. So me and Andrew locked ourselves in my bedroom, and he came to break down the door, and like so he was banging on the door so hard it broke the door, and so I opened the door, you know, and then like he just like passed out after that.
Did you have the kitchen table fixed?
No, I did not. He got me a replacement table that was like some $15 like, what did you call it, particle board? Particle board table, and my other one was a pine table, which was really nice.
Did you get her a particle board table?
It was not a particle board table.
Did you get her a replacement
Yes,
table?
I got a replacement table.
Well, why would you get her a replacement table if you don't remember breaking her original table?
Because I remember carving into it, because I had carved into it probably about 2 months before.
Carved into it with what?
With a knife.
Why would you do that?
I don't know.
What did you carve into it?
Just like dots.
What?
Just like stuff. Like,
What do you mean stuff?
I didn't really carve anything into it. I just like cut it up and stuff.
You mean you're sitting there just whittling
Yeah.
on the kitchen table? Shh. You don't look like you're an unintelligent person, but you sound like an unintelligent person. That's being deceptive. If you're going to be unintelligent, you should look unintelligent. Now, what about the door?
The door, like when he was hitting on it. Like,
I know it broke, so
yeah,
did you have it
broke.
fixed?
No, I did not yet.
Did you have an estimate to fix it?
Yeah.
Let me see the estimate to fix the door. I'll take a look at all of her pictures, Bert.
Okay. Well, there's the picture of the broken door, and these two are the estimates of the door.
Okay, so you can have the door fixed for 150 bucks you can take care of. This is an interior door?
Yeah.
All right. Are these the scratch marks you made on the top of the table with a knife?
I believe so.
I don't know what this Pasadena Furniture Company, $900 for a pine table?
Yeah, that's why I thought it was pretty ridiculous. My original estimate, I thought pine table like $200-300 at the
That's
most.
all you're getting for it, $250
Yeah.
for a pine table. Let's see what we have. We have $750 for the must-have stereo system, $250 for the pine table, and $150 for the door. $1,150. You're going to have to deliver a lot of pizza, sir. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,150. That's all.
Parties are excused.
Charlene Jurgen says ex-boyfriend Colin Hager owes for a burglary, an assault, and a loan for bail.
All right, Ms. Jurgens, you and the defendant used to have a romantic relationship, and according to your complaint, something happened a year ago that caused all kinds of problems. There was a freeway altercation between the two of you. You claim he assaulted you, then he was arrested. Then you decided that you would help him out by bailing him out. You obligated yourself to a bail bondsman. You claim he owes you money for that. You claim he owes you money for the assault. You claim he owes you money for going into your apartment at some time subsequent to this altercation and ruining your property. Mr. Hager has a whole different interpretation of what happened on the freeway about a year ago. He says that you actually stole money from him, that you're not obligated to the bail bondsman. He's obligated to the bail bondsman. He's going to have an opportunity to tell me, but you're no longer in love?
No.
Absolutely not.
You don't see each other anymore?
No way.
No.
Perfect. So, tell me what happened a year ago, Ms. Jurgens.
I was in a violent relationship, so I moved out of my county to a different county, and he followed me down there. He learned where I lived.
Look at me. Don't look down there.
And he showed up and broke into my bathroom window, and he...
Were you home during all this time?
No, I was not home.
Just a second. You have any proof that he burglarized your house?
I have a police report of the robbery.
That you reported?
Yes, I did report it.
I can make a report. I can make a report that he burglarized my house.
He admitted he went through my bathroom window on the police report.
What date?
On November 25th of 2004, he admitted on his police report to the police in San Diego that he went through my bathroom window.
Okay, let me see that.
Didn't know.
Because November 25th, 2004 is the same day as this freeway altercation. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Let me see the report where he admits that.
I never even spoke to the police.
Shh. Just a second. Would you have her point out where he says window? Just circle it. Circle where he admits to the police that he went into your bathroom window.
He returned and climbed through my bathroom window.
That's you telling the police. You said he admitted to the police that he went through my bathroom window. I said, show me in the report.
Perhaps he admitted it to me.
All right. Would you get to the freeway, please? What happened on the freeway?
Well, I left my home because I didn't want any problems at my home. So I got in my car and I was traveling to my friend's house, and his car chased me, and I thought I should go right to the police department. And he followed me, and then he ran me off the road in front of an office, and the lady came out and dialed 911.
Keep going.
I couldn't call 911 because he was reaching in my window to steal my cell phone.
Keep going.
He hit my rent-a-car, and then he sped off.
Keep going.
So basically, that's hit and run. The police arrived, took my statement, and they went to track him for the robbery and the damages to the car.
Keep going.
They found him, and they arrested him. He said he had a drink and a lost phone, and he was crying and upset.
Let's get to the bail, Ms. Juergens, please.
He was arrested in San Diego. He knew my home phone number, so he called collect, and he promised to pay for those collect
Just a second.
calls.
He called collect, and the operator said, I have Mr. Hager on the phone, and you said, I'll accept the charges.
Not the first time.
I don't care if it's the first time or the 100th time. At some
Eventually,
point-
I took the call.
And what happened when you took the call?
He was upset and crying and promising me that he would quit using drugs and he would go to AA and never drink again. Please help me get out. My family won't help me. My sister won't bail me out. Only you can help me out.
So?
I hung up on him and I called my lawyer.
About what?
I said, my ex-boyfriend was arrested and he's asking me to bail him out. And my attorney said, well, that's a great idea, because then you can bring him to us and we can get a retainer. So bail him out, sign for his release.
You think I believe that? You think I believe what you just told me? You think Bird believes what you just told me? That you calling your lawyer and you said, my ex-boyfriend who beat me up, who I moved from one county to another county to get away from, just called me up to bail him out of jail, because after he burglarized my house, assaulted me, chased me down the freeway, damaged my rental car, tried to steal my cell phone. After all of that, wants me to bail him out. And your lawyer said to you, that sounds like a great idea. Why don't you do that, and we can get a retainer from him, and then we'll all be one happy family. So you went and bailed him out and put down with the bail bondsman how much?
I didn't put any monies down. I just signed for his release as my attorney told me to do so.
So they let him out because you promised to pay?
He promised.
So what are you suing him for bail for?
I have a promissory note that he promised to pay, and he's never paid.
Well, what does that have to do with you? If you just said you're not obligated to pay the bail, what is the promise? You're suing on behalf of the bail bondsman?
The bail bondsman is suing me for the amount of $2,500 for
Show
his...
me that the bail bondsman is suing you. Well, they're not suing you. They said if this matter is not resolved, they're going to send this to a collection agency. Tell them to sue you. All right. Tell me this story about what happened, Ms. Juergens, when you signed him out and took him to your lawyer. Tell me what happened.
My lawyers had him sign a retainer, and they made $8,000 off of him.
Yes.
Then they called him and said, why haven't you paid that bail bond? It's going to collections. Pay it. And he promised.
Just a minute. Why would you take him to your lawyer?
Because
this man who you fled from one county to another to get away from, who just burglarized your house, assaulted you in your home, battered your car, almost killed you on a freeway, why would you take him to your lawyer?
To get him out of my county of San Diego and put him back in Orange County and let my lawyers handle it.
How many lawyers are there in Orange County?
About 1 million.
Right. And according to you, we paid your lawyer $8,000. I guarantee you another half dozen of the million lawyers in Orange County would have taken the case for $8,000. So why you chose to take him to your lawyer, the whole story is so bizarre. And if the story is so bizarre and if it doesn't make sense, it didn't happen that way. All right, Mr. Hager, I've listened to the fairy tale on this side. You want to tell me your side of this fairy tale?
What really happened was she took off with my phone after coming to my hotel room.
Where was your hotel?
San Diego, Mission Bay.
What were you doing?
They're like getting ready to go to SeaWorld.
You were getting ready to go to SeaWorld?
Yeah.
Who were you going to SeaWorld with?
I was going to go to SeaWorld with my daughter.
Was your daughter with you?
No, she wasn't at the time.
Where does she live?
She lives down in Costa Mesa.
Listen, Mr. Hager,
Yeah.
you're always going to get tripped up on a little detail.
Yeah.
Because they make up the story as they're going. Do you understand?
I'm not making it up.
Oh. What were you doing in a hotel room, and what was she doing in your hotel room while you're getting ready to take your daughter to see the sea lions?
My daughter wasn't with me at the time. She was in Oceanside visiting her cousins. Charlene came down there because she had to see me.
Just a second. How did she know you were there, sir?
She called me.
On your cell phone?
Yeah.
Okay. And you told her I'm here. Did you tell her before or after you arrived?
After I arrived, I believe.
And she came to your hotel?
Yeah.
What's the name of the hotel?
I think it was the Hilton.
Paid by credit card or cash?
Credit card, I believe.
And you registered there in your own name?
Yes, yes.
Why do you hesitate?
Well, I have trouble with remembering details. Yes.
Well, I mean, it would be a simple thing. Somebody said, did you register there in your own name? I'd say, of course.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say, Do you know what I'm saying, Mr.
Yeah,
Hager?
I know what you're saying, yeah.
It's the little details that are going to trip you up if I don't get an accurate story from you.
Okay.
Or as close to accurate in this fantasy that I want to get.
All right.
So she came to your hotel?
Yes.
For what purpose?
To talk.
About what?
About a relationship, and also to try and talk me into like backing off on some of the accusations and charges I had against her.
For what?
Battery, robbery, all kinds of stuff.
Were there criminal charges pending against her at the time?
Yes.
Is that true, Ms. Juergens?
1, assault. Robbery is false.
So at the time you went to his hotel, there was a current criminal action pending against you?
Yes.
Well, at least I got you in his hotel. That's different from the bathroom in your house. Now, according to you, she left your hotel with your cell phone. Is that right?
That's correct.
And that's why you followed her on the freeway.
Yes.
Did you pay the bail bondsman, sir?
Yes, I paid him everything up to about $2,500.
Did you pay her lawyer any money?
Yeah, and quite a lot of money. In fact, I paid her bill for the lawyer too.
You did?
Oh yeah, I have the receipt right here.
How much did you pay her lawyer?
$1,250 on one count, and then I paid $2,500 on another count.
What made you so magnanimous?
Well, you know, she kept telling me that we can work things out, and she loved me and stuff like that.
Were those criminal charges subsequently dropped, Ms. Juergens?
No, they weren't.
Did that case go to trial?
It did not. I changed my not guilty plea.
To a guilty plea?
Yeah, after 11 months.
What was your sentence?
Time served.
How long had you been incarcerated?
48 days.
What was the nature of the assault that you pled guilty to?
He alleged that I scratched him and assaulted him and battered him.
Is that right, Mr. Hager?
Yeah, I have the report with the 5 stitches that I had, if you'd like to see that.
I would. So I am correct in the time sequence in this case.
Right.
Your allegations, Ms. Juergens, that he assaulted you after he crawled through the bathroom window, and that's when you took off down the freeway. That police report was made after you were under indictment for assault. Is that right?
I was fighting my alleged charge.
Correct.
My
Well, the
plea was
alleged
not
charge, it's no
guilty.
longer an alleged charge. It's a conviction.
Now it is.
How come you didn't tell me you were in his hotel room until I got the information a different way?
You didn't ask, and he asked me to go. He invited me.
This is the same man, Ms. Juergens, who you fled from one county to another to escape. You went to his hotel room alone? Goodbye, Ms. Juergens. I'm totally disinterested in your lawsuit. You have no case. That's all. Goodbye.
Kathleen Bowers is suing her former friend, Lana Batman, for damaging her Dodge Durango when she backed into a pole.
Miss Batman, you will forgive him, won't you?
Sure.
Good. Miss Bowers, this used to be your friend. She borrowed your car. She had an accident. You wanted to pay for the damage to your car. Miss Batman does acknowledge that she had an accident with the car. She said you should have used your insurance, and if you didn't have good enough insurance, that's your problem. That's pretty much your defense.
Yeah.
Right?
Right, correct.
How'd you damage her car?
I pulled into a carport trying to move, and when I pulled out, I was trying to look around the corner, and it hit the carport pole.
So the accident was your fault?
Yeah.
So how does that translate into use your insurance, and if you don't have insurance, you pay for it?
Well, if you don't have the proper insurance, why are you loaning your car out?
Just admit she had proper insurance. You have liability?
Yes, actually, my mother had bought me the car, so my mother had full coverage insurance on the car. And at the time we were going to file the claim, Lana would not call her agency, because first we were going to try and go through hers. And so she came over and we discussed it, and she told me that since she had borrowed the car, she wanted me to pay half because I had lent it to her. We were going to do it out of pocket, so the insurance, because it was going to go onto her insurance, my mother's insurance, and yeah, so we were going to try to do it outside of there.
You were going to try to do it without using your insurance.
Yes.
Because certainly if you used your mother's insurance rates were at risk. And if you used hers, her insurance rates were potentially at risk.
Yeah, but I wouldn't know because Lana wouldn't get a hold of her insurance for me.
Whatever. You have an estimate?
I do.
Right. I called my insurance.
And?
And they said the insurance follows the car, not the person.
Okay.
That was
Miss
a week
Bat-
after I had
Just
it
a second.
fixed.
Miss Batman, let me try to explain it to you, because I know that you really probably think you're right.
I am right.
Miss Batman, I want you to listen to me.
She shouldn't have loaned her car out.
I want you to listen to me carefully.
I didn't ask to borrow the car.
Listen to me. I want you to listen to me
She
carefully.
felt guilty.
Try listening. Okay, listen.
I'm listening.
Okay.
Can I say something?
First, you have to listen. I understand. Hey, listen. We live in a world of responsibility.
Right. And I'm
Just listen. Try not to plug up. Try to open up and listen. If you didn't want to accept the responsibility of using her car with caution, then you should not have taken her car. Now, based upon what you told me, you drove the car negligently, not on purpose, but you weren't looking. But certainly if you weren't looking in the right place or if you misjudged space, that's your fault. It's not fair for you to say, well, it's true that I caused the damage to her car, and I want her to bear the responsibility of fixing the car with her insurance, despite the fact that we all know that once you put in a claim for insurance, your premiums go up for sometimes up to 5 years. And that, Miss Batman, is just wrong. It's not thinking. I know that you have something you want to say, but I want you to try to absorb what I've said to you as an adult. Now, I will hear you.
Okay. First, I didn't borrow the car. She was supposed to help me move.
No, listen to me.
No, she was supposed to help me move, and she was going to drive the car. I didn't want to drive her car. She was sick, and she couldn't help me, as usual, and so she said, well, here, why don't you borrow my car? Because, you know, I feel really guilty. So I said, no, I'll take my dad's truck. And she said, no, 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 take my car. Just take my car.
What does that have to do with what I just said to you?
Well,
how old are you?
30.
Listen to me.
But
If you're
I'm
30,
not
if you're 30, but I'm going to stop you right. If you're 30, and if you say, no, I'll take my dad's truck, the reason you didn't want to take her car is because you didn't want to be responsible for it.
I didn't want to
Listen to me. You didn't want to be responsible for it.
Right, but she should have been responsible in saying, this is insured under my name. It's under my mother's insurance. You won't be covered.
Miss Batman, if you're 30 years old and somebody says, take my car, and you say, no, I don't want to take your truck. You're forcing me to take your truck. You're holding a gun to my head. I'm going to take your truck, but I'm not going to be responsible for it. If you take her car, you are responsible for acting in a way that doesn't cause damage to the car. And if you cause damage to it, that's your responsibility. Okay. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,260.
Thank you very much.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Psychiatrist Dr. Howard Richmond says publishing consultant Susan Gilbert scammed him on a book deal.
According to your complaint, Dr. Richmond, you retained Miss Gilbert's services because you were interested in publishing a book.
That is correct.
And she had, well, you had heard she had had some expertise in assisting people to get their works published. You gave her approximately $2,500, and it is your claim that she really defrauded you because she was not working solely in your best interest. You want not only your money back, but you want twice that amount of money as punitive damages. So I have a few questions before we get into this. Had you written a book?
Yes, I did.
And the subject?
It was called The Healing Field, a story about myself, a psychiatrist, and one of my patients who was dying from anorexia. Only when I got out of the box of my traditional training did my patient start to heal.
How long did it take you to do the book?
About 5 years.
And what brought you to Miss Gilbert?
I was at a publishing event in 2003, and the defendant was one of many experts that presented that day, and she said that she could help me get my book published.
How much was Miss Gilbert's fee?
Her fee was $150 for an hour of coaching over the phone.
And what kind of things did she coach you about?
Well, she talked about having a branding, who I was going to tell me about this fantastic opportunity to be a co-author in a book along with big names such as Dr. Phil, Deepak Chopra, and Wayne Dyer. And I would need to pay $5,000 to, under a tight deadline, write a chapter in the book. So then in October of 2004, I wrote a check for $5,000, sent it to the publisher, Linda, and then 2 weeks later...
The publisher is not Linda. What's the name of the publisher of this book?
Her name is Linda, and her corporate
Company, yeah.
logo is Mentors Publishing House.
Never heard of him.
Neither had I.
So what'd you just write him a check for $5,000 for? Dr. Richmond.
Well, at the time,
Doctors are notoriously bad businessmen.
it was a good sale to be associated with these big name authors.
Yeah, but you got to do your own due diligence, Dr. Richmond. You know, if somebody said, I'm doing an ensemble work with Dr. Phil and some other notable people, you would think that this ensemble work would be published by somebody that you would heard of.
Well, there was 2 other books, so they had a track record of putting out 2 books
2 books?
previously. Correct.
In how many years?
I'm not sure exactly.
So in their whole history as a publishing house, all you knew of was 2 books they had published.
Correct. But there were celebrities in the first 2 editions.
Like who?
Zig Ziglar.
I never heard of Zig Ziglar.
Donald Trump is in the 3rd edition. So it sounded really good.
What 3rd edition?
Well, this book that I was enticed to be a part of.
Has it been published?
It just came out in the last couple of weeks.
Is that right?
Yes. In fact, Judge Judy, would you like a copy of it? I've autographed
I'd just like
it.
to look at it. I don't want a copy. I have enough to read. By the way, in case you want a picture of Zig Ziglar, this is what he looks like.
That's him.
All right, so you sent $5,000 into this publisher. Go ahead, what happened?
I wrote the chapter. Then in late January, early February 2005, there were some changes in the publication and a delay in when the book was coming out. I started to get uncomfortable with the changes that were happening.
Like what changes?
Instead of 40 authors, there was going to be 70 authors. Chuck Norris was going to be on the cover of the book. He's not in alignment with the work that I do. And then on February 7th, I discovered that the defendant, my coach, was not only getting compensation from me, but also from Linda, the publisher. In exchange for bringing people in, she would get to write the foreword and have her picture on the cover of the book. And that was in an email that I only discovered February 7th. She never disclosed this to me. I was shocked. My confidence in her began to evaporate.
Did you have to pay $5,000 to get into this book?
I did not.
And the reason you didn't have to pay $5,000 to get into this book is because you brought other clients into the book?
Right, the
Is that,
relationship.
just a second.
Yes.
My questions, your answers. Did you at any time tell Dr. Richmond that you were involved as a co-author in this project, but that you were being compensated in part for bringing in other prospective authors?
Yes.
When did you tell him that?
At the inception of the discussion of whether he would come in or not, because one of the questions that they had was whose picture would be on the front, and at that time, the publisher had offered that my picture would be in that larger space there on the cover.
That doesn't answer my question. You can write a chapter, but if everybody who's writing a chapter pays $5,000 for your bringing in other authors who were getting a free ride, my question is, did you tell that to Dr. Richmond?
I did not state it in those words.
Well, those are the words that you should have used, Miss Gilbert.
If I could clarify one thing for Judge Judy, though, the $5,000 fee is not a fee. You made a commitment to purchase 1,000 copies.
There's no difference between buying 1,000 copies and paying $5,000 to get in, because it all goes to the publisher. They are at least assured of 1,000 copies, and if they get 70 authors to each contribute $5,000, that means that they have guaranteed themselves 70,000 copies of the book being sold, which guarantees them a spot on some list that says we've already sold 70,000 copies, and therefore you should read this book. That's sort of a no-brainer.
It's
right,
marketing.
Miss Gilbert?
Absolutely, it's
Okay.
marketing.
So that wasn't explained to him, that the $5,000 is that you can get 1,000 copies of this book. You don't have 1,000 friends. What you're going to do is you're going to take pieces of your library. You put 500 in one house and 500 in another house, and some in the kitchen and some in the living room. I've written books, I know. I got stacks of them all over my house. Some were sold. Summed it up. Listen to me. You had an obligation to tell him that you were also representing other people who were going to be contributing to this book, and in exchange for your cooperation securing other people, which the publisher wanted, because I guarantee you, Dr. Phil didn't have to pay $5,000 to get into the book. Chuck Norris didn't have to pay $5,000 to get into the book. Nice-looking man, they don't know who he is. You got to pay the $5,000. It's marketing.
It's marketing, and that's the point. All of the coaching calls that
you have
and I
to tell him. Can I say this for a second, Bert? Sure. Don't get too involved with it. Let's see. We have people like Dan Kennedy, Cynthia Bull, Brian Tracy, Carol Ann Hamilton. How many people did you represent here, Miss Gilbert?
I represented 4 people.
And did each of those people pay $5,000?
Yes, they did.
Okay, because they were not celebrities.
Absolutely.
Did each of those other 4 people know about the other people?
I did not spell out everything as it's coming out in this courtroom, but Howard knew that I was inviting him in and I was inviting other people to participate, and I explained how it worked.
You should have explained the whole piece to him. You left out some very important things.
That doesn't take away the benefit that he would have received and all the things that we discussed.
He's not a child, Miss Gilbert.
You're right.
He's not a child. So what you're supposed to do is, if he is retaining you in what I consider an almost quasi-fiduciary relationship, you don't treat him like a child. You give him all the facts and then let him make a judgment. Now, it might have been a wrong judgment for him not to participate in this book. He might have gotten his name in print, so at least he was a published author. But your responsibility to your client, if he was your primary client, was to make sure that he had all the facts. Now, did you get your book published?
Not yet.
You got a possibility?
Of course.
Good. Now, I don't necessarily think Miss Gilbert is dishonest. I think that she didn't realize who her master was. Her master was the person who had hired her to help him publish his book. Quite honestly, Dr. Richmond, in all probability, had you not gotten your money back, because you got your $5,000 back.
No, I did not.
You did not?
No, I did not.
Why not?
Well, as a matter of fact, when I decided to withdraw from the project and ask the publisher for my money back, on February 25th, the publisher agreed to send me the check that day. I waited. No check. Then I discover my coach, my agent, told her directly not to give me my money back.
How do you know that?
I heard it verbally from the defendant, and also I have an email from the publisher that confirms the conversation.
What did you say to the publisher?
I don't know what was written there.
I'm not asking you what was written here. I know what was written here. I'm asking you what you said to the publisher that resulted in the publisher not sending him back his check.
I care very deeply, even though it doesn't appear that it's coming out that way. I care about my coaching clients.
I asked you what you told the publisher.
That I wanted to speak with Howard before he withdrew because I felt he was making a really bad business decision, that everything that he and I had been working towards for months would be helpful in this book release. And so I wanted an opportunity to speak with him.
Well, did you speak to him?
I did, and he still withdrew.
Just a second. Did you then call back the publisher and say?
Multiple times.
And say, give him back his check?
Absolutely. Multiple times I have requested, and I thought that she would. But Dr. Richmond has taken him
But this
to court.
says, yes, I held off sending the check because of my conversation with Susan.
Which is what I said, that I wanted to speak with Howard.
So you never got your money back?
No, Your Honor.
He took them to court and won a judgment.
Did you get paid?
No.
When did you get your judgment?
June 6th, and I have a copy of that if you would like to see it.
I would.
It's June 1st.
You have any idea why you haven't gotten your money?
Lack of integrity.
Have you called them?
Yes.
And what have they said?
No response. Tried to get the money from the bank account. No money there. Cat and mouse game.
Her client has said, I want my money back. The people are ready to send you your check. You say, don't send him his check. I want to talk to him. That's not up to you.
If he's hired me as his coach and I feel that he's making a mistake, I'd like to speak with him before that happens.
You had no business speaking to the publisher about him. You don't know who your master is in this situation. You took money from him. You are his advocate.
As is, I was advocating for him that this was a good project.
He's not a baby. It's up to him to make a judgment as to whether or not he believes that he wants to go forward with this project. You know, Chuck Norris is a very nice man. He says, I don't want to be in a book with Chuck Norris on the cover. I don't know why. I've met Chuck Norris, got a lovely man, he's got a lovely wife. Their philosophies may be inconsistent. Who knows? That's not up to you. That's up to him. How much did he pay you?
How much did he pay me?
Yeah.
A total of $2,500 over 6 months for 17 sessions. And when I begin to work with someone, Judge
So
Judy,
far, he's out $5,000 plus another $2,500, and he doesn't have a book. And the $5,000 of that $7,500, put it down. $5,000, Miss Gilbert, out of the $7,500 is because of you. Sounds to me like better practice would be not to come in front of 10 million people and tell your story, but to give him back his $2,500. Checking for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,500. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Dawn Chuck is suing her son, 21-year-old Scott King, for a loan to purchase a 1999 Chevy Cavalier. Scott claims the car was a gift.
Ms. Chant, this young man is your son.
Yes, ma'am.
And your complaint alleges that he owes you a balance of a car loan.
Correct.
And your son says the car was a gift to him?
That's correct, Your Honor.
Did I ask you a question?
No, I'm sorry.
And while he helped you financially for a while, had nothing to do with this being a loan, it was always a gift, and when he had his expenses got to a point where he could no longer help you out, he just stopped. Is that...
That's
now
correct.
I'm looking at you.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Do you want me to yell at him?
Please.
Who is this person?
This is my son's ex-girlfriend, Jessica.
And who is this?
This is my current girlfriend, Kelly.
Is she here for any particular reason?
More or less. She was witness to an instance over the summer where I actually offered a reconciliation to my mother at a festival downtown. And basically, my mother told me she was in the process of filing bankruptcy and that my help was too late and basically shrugged me off and walked away. So at that point, I felt like I was no longer obligated to even try to reconcile or help out the situation at all.
Let me understand this. I'm going to put what you just said to me because I know that one thing you're going to learn as you get older, you have to think about what you say before you say it.
Absolutely.
What you just said to me was, this young lady is a witness to something that happened recently. When you said to your mother, listen, let me try to work this out with you, you know, with the car, and she shrugged you off and said to you, I filed bankruptcy and your help is too late.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Well, that's, Mr. King sort of acknowledges that this was a loan.
Well,
don't well me.
I'm sorry.
That sort of acknowledges that you had some responsibility in your mother's financial situation. You got to keep it simple. All right, when was the car purchased, Ms. Shawn?
August of 2002.
How old are you?
21.
How old were you when the car was purchased?
I believe 19, Your Honor.
How much were the car payments each month, Mr. King?
$150 maybe, Your Honor? I'm not sure.
Well, you were making the car payments for a while.
Yes, correct. It was a long time ago.
Okay. You were making the car payments for a while. So when you say it was $150 a month, was it 150 or 152, 156?
Couldn't tell you, Your Honor. Don't have my checkbooks from back then anymore.
How many years did you make the payments?
I'd probably say 12 months.
When you stopped making the payments, did you notify your mother?
Absolutely.
Is that right?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. I found out 3 months after the fact that he stopped making the payments that from the finance company contacted me and said the payments had ceased.
You have the letter?
The payment was $177.26.
You have the letter from the
No, they
finance-
didn't. They just called me and I made a payment over the phone. He made $3,000 worth of the $6,000 loan.
Well, that's a pretty good track record, Mr. King, for somebody who got a gift. See what I mean?
Yes, Your Honor.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Dawn Chant says her son, Scott King, owes for the balance on a car. Dawn claims Scott traded the car in and kept the money.
Now, did you file a bankruptcy last summer?
Absolutely not. I've never filed bankruptcy. I have no intention of ever filing bankruptcy.
What kind of work do you do, Ms. Shawn?
I'm an administrative assistant for a management firm.
Who's driving the car?
He's traded that car in on a new vehicle. Yes, ma'am. I have. He got $4,000 on a trade-in, and instead of paying off the loan, he decided to use that $4,000 to purchase his brand new Focus that he's now driving. And they gave him $4,000 for the car, and he used it as a down payment.
Yeah? I mean, you're just going to stand there and look foolish?
No, Your Honor. I mean, what do you want me to say about that? Yes, I traded the vehicle in.
Well, if you traded the vehicle in, who did you expect to make the payments after you traded the vehicle in?
When I was living rent-free, I had no issues helping out with the bills. I was working full-time, going to school full-time.
Helping out with the bills is a different story, Mr. King. Helping out with the bills means, Mom, he has $200 or $300 for rent, or he has $100 a week for rent. That's a different helping out with the bills. You made the car payment directly.
It was sporadically. It was, you know, a chunk here, a chunk there.
Well, that's because you were young and stupid. That's not because that's the way people do business.
I know that now, Your Honor.
How much is left owing on the car?
Approximately $3,000.
Let me see.
I'm sorry, $2,000 is my balance right now. Here's my current statement from the finance company showing the balance as of today.
And I'm amazed that you traded this car in, that they let you trade the car in with a
There was no
lien.
lien because it was a personal loan.
May I say something, Your Honor?
It was a personal loan? What do you mean it was a personal loan?
It was a signature loan. There was no collateral.
What do you want to say?
Well, this wasn't financing that I requested. It wasn't I mean, I was at the age where I could require credit myself. This is a loan that she got, and she acted sporadically like, let's do this now, let's get this now, you need this. I wasn't prepared to make this transaction, and it was basically thrown upon me out of need, out of necessity, from her standpoint, that we needed a better ride for me and Jessica to go to college and back and whatnot. And it happened within a day. We got the check in the mail, and the next day I had a car. It was like, that quick. And I mean, I don't agree that I didn't ask for the loan, I didn't want the loan. I don't even consider it a loan. It wasn't something that I was part of at all. It was something that was thrown upon me. And now I felt like I was being held accountable, like it being dangled over my head from that point forward. After we got rid of my escort, I had no vehicle. So we had the Cavalier, and I was like, make the payment or you lose it. And I was like, this isn't something I ever wanted or wanted to acquire. If I had it my way, I would have still had my old vehicle, and everything would have been okay from that point forward. I don't feel like this was any kind of my decision, and it was forced upon me.
Was he a difficult pregnancy?
Actually, ma'am.
No, I'm asking you, was he a difficult?
No, he was all of my children were very easy. And he was a very cooperative. I was working, got it from the dealer. He was going on a test drive. Mom, I really want this car. I tried talking him out of purchasing this car.
Listen to me.
That's not true.
No 19-year-old or 18-year-old says, 18 says, Mom, I don't want this nice car. I want to drive the piece of junk that I'm driving. I'm really happy driving around with my girlfriend in this piece of junk that doesn't start all the time.
Absolutely.
Please, I don't even want to think about a nice car. Being 18, I want to take the bus, take the train. With my,
no, ma'am.
That's how we want to go out.
You wouldn't take a bus to school, to high school.
No. I just want to know whether you had any clue in utero that he was going to develop into this.
No, the last thing I want to do is be here against my son, let me tell you.
Excuse me?
The last place I want to be is here with my son.
I don't blame you.
Yes, absolutely.
I don't blame you.
I just can't afford to make payments on something that is non-existent.
Well, I think that he's got some nerve trading it in. That really suggests to me, I'm speaking.
I'm sorry.
That really suggests to me that he is really totally an amoral person. He could have traded it in for something and given you the money.
That would have been really nice.
That would have been, and not put you in a hole. Because according to Freshmouth over here, he at least thought that you were filing for bankruptcy. He at least thought that you were in financial difficulty. And one of the reasons that you were in financial difficulty was because of his actions. Because according to him, new girlfriend over here, whose purpose in being here is to tell me about this conversation that she heard about looking forward to helping his mother, right? Isn't that what he said you were going to tell me?
Right.
Right. Means that he understood that his conduct created a negative situation for you.
And I do it.
Oh, get over it.
Ma'am, can I give Scott the title to his Focus? Because it's at my house.
No, I don't want you to give him anything.
This is his title for his car that he's driving now.
Listen to me. I don't want you to give him anything.
Okay.
He's got to understand what aggravation is. And if he doesn't have a title to the car that he's driving now because it came to your house, let him go to motor vehicles, fill out all the paperwork that he has a lost title, that the title never arrived, that he moved. He'll fill out an affidavit that he never got the title because he no longer lives in your house. Let him do something. Do you understand?
I understand.
He has to experience some pain. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,000.
Thank you, ma'am.
That's all.
John White says co-worker Toriano Harris owes for injuring his eye. John says Toriano ripped his cornea when he tackled him at a party.
According to your complaint, sir, you were at a New Year's Eve party.
Yes.
Mr. Harris was at the same New Year's Eve party, and you claimed that he was pretty drunk, and while not intentionally, while horsing around, he seriously injured your eye.
True.
Mr. Harris says everybody was sort of fooling around and butting each other. He didn't injure you, you were just fine, and he questions whether or not he exacerbated this pre-existing eye injury that you had.
Right.
What time did you get to the party?
Probably around 12:30.
Who did you go with?
Kathy.
Where had you been before?
At another party.
Who was driving?
I was.
Were you drinking?
Yeah.
How come you were drinking and driving?
And got caught up in the celebrations.
Was she drinking?
No.
Why didn't you let her drive?
Wasn't thinking at the time.
How much had you been drinking?
Couple cups of champagne, maybe.
Whose party was this that you arrived at 12:30?
Another co-worker's, another friend.
What time did you arrive at the party?
It was a little before 12, about 11:30.
Where had you been previous to 11:30?
I live across the street, so I walked across the street to the party.
So you hadn't had any alcohol before 11:30?
Nope. Ma'am.
And what were you drinking between 11:30 and 12:30?
Had about 2 beers.
Who did you come to the party with?
By myself.
Were you by yourself the beginning part of the evening?
Yes, I was.
That sounds pretty lonely on a New Year's Eve, Mr. Harris.
Well, I had just got off work, and then I went home and found out it was a party across the street, and it was somebody who I work with. So I was invited, so I walked across the street.
Okay, so now that we've laid the foundation of this evening, you were there by yourself, you had a date, you arrived at 12:30, you arrived at 11:30, you were sober as a judge.
Yes, ma'am.
Before 11:30, after that, you had a couple of beers.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me what happened to 12:30 when you arrived, Mr. White.
I came in the house, I mingled a little bit, had some more drinks. Probably 45 minutes to an hour after that time of mingling. Mr. Harris here was just a little bit out of control. He was obviously way drunker than he said he was. he was so out of control that me and some of the other guests removed ourselves from the living room of the party to like the front porch, patio type area, holding the door, keeping him from coming in. He eventually got up there on the patio where he continued his behaviors.
Describe his behavior to me, please.
Out of control is the only word I can use. He jumping around, spitting liquor at us, loud, screaming. He got down into like a football stance and just rushed me.
Describe that to me. Show me. What's a football stance?
Out here?
Yeah.
A football stance.
Okay, that kind of, okay. All right.
Brushed my legs, grabbed me by the legs, and I don't know if he was trying to put me in a wrestling move or just whatever, but as I was going down, his head hit my eye, causing the stitches that I had from a previous surgery to bust. And
What kind of surgery had you had on your eye?
I had a cornea transplant.
When?
September 20th.
You have the medical records for me?
Yes.
I'd like to see them, please. That's the injury that you're talking about, being bumped in the head by him and the
Yes.
stitches coming apart.
As
Did you go to the emergency room that day?
Yes, I did.
Who took you?
My friend here, Kathy. I actually went home to. Went back
Kathy,
to the
you have a
hospital.
last name. Smith. You took him to the emergency room?
Yes.
Immediately after being bumped in the head, did you leave the party?
Well, after I got hit in the eye, like I say, he took me to the ground. I think that was the initial impact. And once I was on the ground, he like went for like probably a headlock and came across my eye again, taking me back to the ground as I was getting up. And at that point, it was when I crawled to the bathroom, tried to wipe the little blood that I did have, and then I left the party.
How many surgeries did you have subsequent to this incident?
3.
Were you scheduled to have any other surgeries after
No.
the initial corneal transplant?
Right. I was doing.
You're doing
it was in
fine.
the period of my recovery process.
Okay, Mr. Harris, I'm going to hear you, sir.
We was at the party. We had a couple drinks. I had a couple drinks. I knew he was already there, and he was already drinking because I can already tell the way he was talking.
You arrived first.
No, he arrived first.
No, you arrived first. You said you arrived at 11:30. They didn't arrive until 12:30.
No, he was there first before me.
Okay, keep going.
I already knew that he had been drinking because the way the slur of his speech he was talking. As the struck clock to 12, we all just was having fun. It was party, horse playing, high five. We bumped chests. Then all of a sudden, a buddy of mine had picked me up. I'm looking around like, what's going on? You know what I'm saying? So then all of a sudden, he grabbed me. So when he grabbed me, I broke him off of me. And then he fell to the ground, I guess injuring his eye then. He was the aggressor. I wasn't the aggressor. He put his hands on me first.
Did you see what happened?
No, he did. I was in the other room. I'm the one that just witnessed.
Tell me your name, sir.
My name is Brian Dukes.
Do you know both of these gentlemen?
Yes, ma'am.
How long have you known them?
About 3 years.
Both?
Yes.
Both nice people?
Yes, yes.
Okay. What time did you arrive at the party that night?
It was after midnight.
Were you out on the porch when this incident
Yes,
occurred?
ma'am.
Tell me what you saw, please.
I'm pretty much a witness to his pretty much out of control behaviors, Mr. Harris. He pretty, like Mr. White here said, he did get down, crouch down in the football stance and did attack Mr. White here.
Just describe to me what you saw. He got down in a football stance.
Football stance. Then he like just rushed him, just grabbed his legs and like took him down to the ground.
Did you assist him in cleaning up his eye?
No, ma'am.
You were just a guest at the party?
Yes.
Did you come with an escort?
No, ma'am.
Were you the only one with a date that night?
No. No.
Okay. I read your complaint that you had a video.
Yes.
Somebody was taking pictures of that
The
evening.
homeowner of the party actually was recording the whole incident.
I'd like to see it, please. Mr. Dukes, you can have a seat, sir.
Thank you.
This is the point here. This was like I said, well past 12:30. He's actually finna start spitting liquor at us. You can't hear it, but he's screaming, yelling, profanity, whatnot. This in the background, this the patio. Now, this the patio area here where we at. That's the homeowner's friend, telling him that he needs to go, but he's not hearing anything. That's the charge. Right there, you can see me holding my eye as I'm going back. He jumps on me again. I'm trying to get up now. I brought back down. At this point here, this is where I told him, I didn't use these words, but you just messed my eye up. And he was like, all right, get up, I got you. I'm crawling off into the bathroom now. As he comes back out, he attempts to do this again, but he will stop. This was a separate person here, separate incident. And so that's the homeowner there. At this point, she was just really fed up with him. That's him hitting the door, banging on her front door, glass door.
What you're supposed to say, Mr. Harris, is, I drank too much, I was an idiot. I'm sorry I hurt you, and I'm going to pay your bills. You're not supposed to make excuses, sir. Have you seen this video before?
No.
You've never seen it before?
Never seen it
Why
before.
didn't you show him this video before? Maybe he would, then he would understand the nature of his actions.
In this process, I reached out to him twice, not asking him to pay the bills, just to help me. Like I said, we have been friends for some time. I knew that he didn't just have this money in his pocket. But if he would have just assisted, no, I don't. But if he had just assisted with the help, we probably wouldn't be here.
I'm waiting.
If he knew that his eye was messed up, why would he come to a party and have fun anyway? I mean, but you know, sometimes when you're at a party, everybody get, you know, everybody horseplay. At least they do where I'm from.
You want to take this one? Or what do you want me to do?
I don't know. There are good questions and there are bad questions. That's a bad question.
You know that if you have some delicate surgery, the chances of that surgery becoming infected, inflamed, that can become dislodged, that happens. Is what you're suggesting, sir, that if you have this kind of surgery, you stay in your room? You work at a place where I assume sometimes it gets physical.
Exactly.
Is that right?
Yes.
That's his job. So he has to go to work. And you take care as best as you can to make sure that the people that you're working with don't hurt you. Don't exacerbate a condition that already exists. When you go to a New Year's Eve party, you expect to have a little bit of alcohol, sometimes. And sometimes you even expect people to act stupid. You don't expect them to act very stupid. And when you act very stupid, Mr. Harris, and you hurt somebody, you have to be responsible and pay for it, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Let me ask you this question, sir. You live across the street from this party.
Yes, ma'am.
You were pretty drunk.
Yes, ma'am.
Let me give you this scenario. You're walking back to your house, and you're pretty drunk, and you're not looking where you were going. And a car is coming down the street. They're perfectly fine. Nobody's drinking in that car. They're driving, but you dart out into the middle of the street, and that car swerves to avoid you. And the people in that car are seriously injured because they hit a tree. Are you going to tell me that you think on New Year's Eve people shouldn't drive their cars because drunks sometimes walk in the middle of the road? That's the same kind of philosophy that you're trying to sell me when you say, listen, when you go to a New Year's Eve party, everybody gets drunk and they horse around. You can horse around without being an idiot. Would you like to show your boss that video?
I don't want to show nobody the video.
Well, you should have thought of that before you came here, Mr. Harris. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Rhonda Vito is suing the mother of her son's friend, Anna Betancourt, for the cost to fix a dirt bike. Rhonda claims Anna's son, 17-year-old Sean, rode her son's bike without permission and wrecked it.
Miss Vito, which of these two young men is your son?
Anthony, the first one.
How old are you, Anthony?
16.
How tall are you?
6'1".
What do you feed him?
Pasta.
Pasta? Which one of these two young men is am I going to grill today?
Sean.
Ms. Betancourt, and this is your son, whose name is Sean?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Vito, it is your complaint that Ms. Betancourt's son drove your son's dirt bike without permission, got into an accident, and damaged the bike. You believe Mrs. Betancourt should be responsible for fixing the bike. Ms. Betancourt said that her son did have permission to ride the bike, that he was injured, that you're just lucky she's not suing you for the injuries because he broke an ankle. Is that right?
Yeah.
And your son gave her son permission to ride the bike, so that's it. Shouldn't be here. Anthony.
Yes.
Anthony, when were you riding the bike when it was running? What date was the last date before this incident? You have to look down at a piece of paper?
No.
What date?
May 8th.
And where were you on May 8th?
We were at a track in Brockton, riding.
And is it a track where they just have dirt bikes?
Yes.
Who was there?
Myself, Nick.
You have to speak up. You hear I'm speaking? I'm projecting. You can hear me, right?
Myself, Nick, and Dennis.
Dennis, that would be you.
Yes, Your Honor.
But Sean wasn't there.
No.
This was after school, or there was no school on that day?
It was after school.
What time?
About like 3:30 to 5:30.
Okay. Now, you're going to tell me what happened.
Myself, Nick, and Dennis were riding. My bike wasn't working right, so we drove to my other friend's house. I tried fixing it, but it didn't work, and Sean asked to ride it.
Okay, now Sean was at your other friend's house?
Yes.
They were just hanging out?
Yes.
So far, are we correct, Sean?
Yes.
So up to this point, our stories are in sync, right? Sean asked if he could ride the bike.
Yes, and me and Nick said no, and I was putting the tools away, and he got on the bike and with no helmet and just left.
Why did you say no?
Because the bike wasn't working properly.
Is that the reason you left the track?
Yes.
Did you have a bike with you that day?
No, Your Honor.
Did you have a bike with you that day?
Yes, Your Honor.
So you had your own bike?
Yes.
He's petrified. All right, so he got on the bike without a helmet and took off. Go ahead.
About 5 minutes after I saw him, I tried waving him over, and he kept going.
What was he going around in a circle?
Yeah, like he went around the block. I saw him, I waved him over. He didn't come over. And about 10 minutes later, he came back with a broken ankle.
By the way, state of Massachusetts, are you required to ride with a helmet?
Yes.
You're also 16, Sean?
17.
17? So you're older than he is?
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
I start eating more pasta.
I don't like pasta.
Okay, let me hear your version. You're at your friend's house. He comes by with his bike. Go ahead.
He came by with his bike. They were fixing it. Dennis rode the bike.
Came by and they were fixing it.
Yes.
Were you outside when they were fixing it?
No, I shut up there. I got out after they were done fixing it, and I came out. And
Well, how did you know they were fixing it?
Because they told me that after.
After what?
I crashed.
After the crash,
Yeah.
not before.
No.
So you showed up after they had been fooling around with the bike.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And then Dennis was riding it, and then when he stopped riding it, I asked if I could ride it. He said no. I asked him again. He said no, and then I just hopped on the bike and rode it. Because I rode it again, so I didn't really think it was a big deal.
Did you tell that to your mother?
No.
No, ma'am.
He didn't tell that to you?
No, ma'am.
He had an epiphany here. Right?
Yeah.
Sean, you had an epiphany here, right? You know what that word means? Change of heart. He had an enlightenment. So this is the first time your mother's hearing that he said, no, you can't ride the bike. Now, do you think that if your mother knew that you didn't have permission to ride this bike, that we would be here today? You stole the bike, right? If you ask the owner of a bike, a car, something, can I use your vehicle? And they say, no, you can't use it. Oh, I'm going to use it anyway. Go get rid of your tools. While you're getting rid of your tools, I'll get on the bike and ride it. Sean, what do you have to say for yourself?
I don't know.
Miss Betancourt, you changed your mind? Your son rode the bike without permission. He actually stole it. He was told he couldn't drive it. You think he's responsible for the damage he caused?
But, Your Honor, I also have medical bills that my insurance is not covering.
Well, let me ask you this question, Miss Betancourt. Let's say your son was walking down the street on his way home, and he saw a red Corvette convertible, and he got into the car, because the keys were there, got into the car, and he took off with the car, and he crashed it, and he got hurt. You think that the owner of that car would be responsible for your medical bills?
No, but also what I didn't finish is that what they're charging me, they're also charging me for part that was fixed that had nothing to do with the accident. And Dennis is the one who took the bike to the shop. And some of the chains and the stuff was worn out during all the periods that they were riding the bikes. So it had nothing to do with the accident.
Well, how much do you believe you are responsible for of the bills that they had?
If we take that out, it would be $355.78.
How much did it cost you to fix the bike?
$631.10.
But the bike wasn't working before he got on the bike properly.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
So it was going to have to go in to be fixed, because the reason you didn't want him to ride the bike is because it wasn't working properly.
Yes.
So at least part of that $631 that it cost you to fix the bike was as a result of wear and tear on the bike, or something that had absolutely no relation to the accident. So what has to do with the accident, Anthony?
I don't know.
Well, if you don't know, she knows. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $355.78. Good. Truth will out. Aren't you glad I didn't have to call on you?
No.
That's all. Thank you.
Christina Smith claims ex-boyfriend Gerald Ware Jr. owes for his share of a cruise vacation, utility bills, and a loan to retain an attorney.
Ms. Smith, you and the defendant dated for a period of time and signed a 6-month lease together in August of 2006?
That is correct.
How long had you been dating before you decided to move in with him?
I met him in March, so I was dating under 6 months.
I ask that not because it's particularly relevant, but I'm conducting my own sociological study. I want to see how quickly it is that people make this
mistake.
Right.
Yes.
In any event, your lawsuit says that you moved in August?
Yes, August 5th.
And you moved out in?
September 25th.
Right, so the living together at least saved you a bad marriage.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Good. It is your claim that Mr. Ware is responsible for half of a cruise that you booked with his consent and his agreement to pay for half of the trip. It was a non-refundable amount of money. It was $2,000, $1,000 for you, $1,000 for him, which of course he didn't go on.
Correct.
Because the cruise was scheduled for
October 7th, excuse me.
Did you take anyone else with you?
No.
So you had the cabin all by yourself?
I sure did.
So let's deal with that first. You moved in August. Things started to go downhill right away. I didn't have to know the why. It was not good. You were both not unhappy with the separation. Is that right?
Yes.
You moved out, but you continued to pay the rent. Your half of the rent.
I did.
Does she still continue to pay her half of the rent?
Up until December.
I think she's a princess. And you continue to live there?
Yes, I did.
All by yourself?
And my kids, when I had them for visitation, yes, I did.
Well, isn't that nice?
Yeah.
So you had a great place to live. Are you still living there?
Until January 6th.
And then what happens?
I received a 30-day notice.
Why?
Because she didn't pay her, as it states in this letter, she didn't pay for December's rent.
Why didn't you pay?
I paid my half.
Why didn't you pay the whole thing?
Because I have a written agreement from her that says that she would pay the half as long as I
I'm
didn't
telling
have
you,
a room.
if she's paid September, October, and November, and she hasn't lived there, and you've lived there with your kids, how old are you?
Me, 37.
Why don't you take care of your own responsibilities? Where are you going after January? They gave you a 30-day notice. Where do you intend to go?
Oh, I'll find a place. No, none in mind right now.
What do you mean you have none in mind?
Well, I'm looking.
How much rent do you pay?
$675.
Is that the entire rent?
No.
Or just your half?
That's my half.
Okay. When you moved in to that apartment, where had you been living just prior to that?
With my boss, as well as Christina.
With your boss?
Yes.
What kind of work do you do?
I am a cabinet installer.
And you lived in your boss's house?
Yes, I did. As well as he's a friend as well.
Before you lived with your boss, where did you live?
I lived with my friend, me and a friend named Brian.
And when you lived with Brian, how much rent did you pay?
About $300 a month because it was just for a room.
How many children do you have?
2.
How much child support do you pay?
The child support is, my son is not legally mine. I accepted that responsibility when he was born, and after she went after his real father for child support, so they dismissed that court order, and for Bella it's $246, I think it is.
How much child support do you pay?
$246.
He doesn't pay child support.
When was the last time you paid child support, Mr. Ware?
It's been a couple years because my ex-wife put a letter in. She said that when she required me to pay child support, that I didn't see the kids regularly, so she wrote a letter to the district attorneys in Sacramento County.
That's hearsay. I just asked you a simple question. When was the last time you paid child support? You said several years ago.
Yeah.
You just told me that you used your apartment, sir, this apartment that you were living in and having half the rent paid by the plaintiff for both yourself and your children when you had them. So clearly you were seeing your children within the last 3 or 4 months.
Yes.
But you haven't been paying child support.
No.
Is this your boss?
Yes, it is.
How did I know that? Are you paid on the books or off the books?
On the books. I'm 1099.
And how much was your 1099 last year?
I didn't work for him last year.
Yes, he did.
Mr. Ware, he doesn't even want to stand up anymore and get involved with this, sir. Did you file tax returns last year?
No, I did not.
You just told me you lived with your boss last year before you moved in with her.
Last year.
What's your last name, sir?
Macway, ma'am.
You want to leave now?
No, ma'am.
You might want to rethink that. You get me? So you're paid in cash and you don't pay taxes and you don't pay child support. You're supposed to pay your own rent.
I did. My half.
Well, you didn't pay, no, your own rent. Listen to me, Mr. 37 years old. You live in this country. You work for him. You're supposed to pay taxes like everybody else, which you don't do. You have children, 2, or maybe just 1. They come to visit you, and yet you have no fiscal responsibility for them. The rest of her lawsuit is, she says, A, she made a small loan to you for a lawyer. I'm not so interested in that, $199. But she said that you had no credit. Well, the reason you have no credit is because you allegedly have no income. So that she put all the utilities in her name. She put all the utilities in her name, left them in her name because she had no credit, and you didn't pay the bill, even when she was paying her half of the rent. Sir?
I was giving her half my check. She went over to my boss's house and received money from them.
You mean after she moved out?
After she moved out?
I'm talking about after she moved out.
After she moved out, I told her she threatened to turn everything off. I told her to go ahead and turn everything off.
Oh, she should have.
So?
And she didn't.
And she didn't.
And did you turn the lights on?
I
Listen to me. Did you turn the lights on?
Yes, I did.
Did you turn the stove on?
Yes,
did you
I did.
plug in a coffee maker?
Yes, I did.
So you used the juice. When you use the juice, you have to pay for it. Did you use the telephone?
Yes, I did.
If you use the telephone, you have to pay. If you're an American citizen and you use the roads and you use the other services that the government provides, you have to pay taxes. How much were your electric bills and service bills after you moved out? I'm talking about just for him.
Yes, the dish bill came to $292.23. I actually put a passcode on there around October 20th when I found out there was adult movies rented on there.
He had to do something to keep himself occupied. Next.
Sure West bill was $260.14.
Is that it?
Yes, and if you're not going to do the attorney bill.
No. $552, rounding it out, Bert. Thank you. Is that right?
Yes.
No sense. Good. $552. Now, let's talk about the cruise, Mr. Ware. You told her to go ahead and book the cruise?
The cruise was planned before I met her. We had been talking about it amongst friends before she moved in, and her sister is a friend of my boss.
Did you tell her to go ahead and book the cruise?
No, I did not.
That's not what you said here, sir.
My boss's wife booked
That's not what you said here, sir, in your answer. Just because you broke up doesn't mean that you don't pay for half the cruise. You pay for half the cruise. What?
In order to get the cruise, you have to do double occupancy.
Don't speak to me sitting down.
Sorry, ma'am. We told them both prior to this going that if anything happened, that you have to pay double occupancy to get on this cruise in order to get all the cabins together. So I said, if something happens, you can't change it, you can't get the money back, and they were both aware of that.
You made that clear to both of them?
Correct.
Terrific. Thank you. You can sit down.
I gave Gerald every opportunity to go on that cruise.
Listen, it happens. He's got to pay for half the cruise because you're out the money. Do you understand?
No, I don't, but...
Well, it's very, very easy, sir. There's no way that you wanted to go on this cruise, and there's no way that you were going to share a cabin together. Somebody was going to go on the cruise. Now, it is my sense that if you said to her, I will give you the $2,000, I will go on the cruise instead of you, she would have said, great. She would have said to you, great. You go on the cruise, and I won't. But right now, she had $2,000 invested in this cruise, and she hadn't seen a penny from you.
Yes, she had, ma'am.
Oh, really? You paid for some?
I was giving her all my checks that I was receiving from him.
Checks
to
you
pay
get
for,
Listen to me.
well, cash, to pay for credit card bills that were outstanding when
We're
we met.
not talking credit card bills, sir. We're talking about the cruise.
That's how the cruise was paid, on credit card.
How much money were you giving her?
I was receiving $500 a week.
In what?
In cash.
I love it when a game plan comes together. Just think of it this way, sir. It's your contribution to taxes. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,552.
Judge,
That's all.
I have some joy. I want to get back to his daughter.
Perfect. That's all. Thank you.
LaDonna Sanchez is suing her former friend and roommate, 26-year-old Sean Henry, for unpaid loans, rent, and a stolen VCR.
Order. All rise. Judge's case number 347 on the calendar, the matter of Sanchez versus Henry. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Well, each of you claim that the other owes you money, just about the same amount of money, $2,600 change. Ms. Sanchez, you claim that this gentleman was living with you. He left owing you money for a variety of things, which you'll tell me about. You say you made a loan to her for lawyer, $1,500 for something. You'll tell me about that. So why don't you start from the beginning? How come the two of you were living together?
Sean said he had no place to go. And when we first moved together, he was getting kicked out of his apartment. I was leaving my apartment.
Had you been friends?
Yeah, we had been friends. We had met at work. And at the time, we were staying in a hotel, and it was like you pay every week. Then we found an apartment through one of his friends at work. He got the apartment in his name, okay? And then later I had got it put in my name. I have a rental agreement. And I was giving Sean the money because he knew the landlord. I had no idea, and I work at night. And so I would give Sean money every week to pay rent. Sean didn't pay rent. I have an agreement that we both signed saying that we're both 4 months in the hole in rent. And I'm like, you know, how in the world can this be? I give you money every week, you know?
What you're telling me is you gave him your share of the rent.
Every
How
week.
much was the rent?
$250.
$250 a month?
Each.
Yes, each. It's $500 a month.
Okay. So you gave him your $250?
Yes.
And he never paid the rent?
No. I have a piece of paper saying right here that we're both, and he signed it. We both signed it, saying that we're 4 months in the rent, 4 months behind in the rent to this day.
Didn't I pay her 70?
I don't know. Do you have a receipt?
Shh, don't talk to each other. Don't talk to each other. Okay. You both signed that you're both responsible for half the rent. Did you pay the rent, sir?
When I moved out, I paid $750.
I'm talking about while you were living there with her.
We were together for a whole year and a half.
Shh. How long were you living in the apartment together?
About a year and a half, 2 years.
And did you pay the rent
Yes.
all that time?
Yes.
No, he didn't. He's lying.
Ms. Sanchez,
Yes, ma'am.
you have rent receipts?
She had them all.
Did you ultimately pay all the rent?
Not yet. I am still in the hole because of Sean.
How did that come about, that you're in the hole?
Okay, Sean was unemployed. First, Sean moved out, okay, because me and Sean and my boyfriend were living together, right? And everything was fine, but we still owed her $2,000.
The three of you were living in the apartment?
Yes.
And the rent was $500?
Yes.
So
but my boyfriend didn't really live there. He wasn't responsible for any of the rent. That was my responsibility. He didn't hardly have any clothes there, okay? He was just,
told me
there.
the three of you were living
in
there.
a two-bedroom apartment. Yeah. He had his own room. I had my own room. He had his company. I had my company. So my boyfriend didn't really live there. He had all his clothes someplace else. My boyfriend did. Sean was fired from his job, came crying to me that he didn't have any place to go. Okay, no place to go. He couldn't go live with his brother. They were having problems. He can go live with his father. They're having problems.
So what you're saying to me, madam...
So I let him move back in. I let him move back in on the agreement that he helped me with households.
In May of 1997, sir, you signed an agreement that you owed her a total of, well, this would be $1,000, right? Because it says that total owing was $2,000. And Henry and Sanchez are responsible for 50% of the total, and you signed this, correct? So you acknowledged in May that you owed her $1,000.
Yeah.
Right? Did you pay her?
I paid the landlord $750.
No, I'm not saying what you paid the landlord. I'm saying what you paid her.
Why would I owe her?
Because I gave you the money every day to pay the rent, and you didn't, stupid.
You want me to dismiss your lawsuit?
No.
This is $2,000. Each of you owe half of that. So that's $1,000. Did you pay it or did you not pay it?
I paid $750. I guess I still owe the landlord $250.
When did you pay the landlord $750?
July?
When did you move out?
July.
No.
Shh. Show me the receipt.
I don't have that.
That makes this easy. So that's $1,000. What else does he owe you for?
He bought, through his work, I got a VCR because he could get it cheaper from Dow Stereo.
How much did you pay for it?
$160.
Okay.
That's all the money that I gave him for the VCR.
How much did you pay for the VCR?
Got a receipt right here.
Okay.
213.
213, and you gave him 160. Where's the receipt?
I didn't ask Sean for receipts.
Okay. Did she give you $160 for the VCR?
Every day I get...
You wanted a video camera.
Listen to me.
But you didn't.
You each want money from each other. It would be very foolish. So you say you bought it for $160, and you're going to show me a receipt for $213. And you claim that when he moved out, why did he move out?
Because he wouldn't do his chores, nor did he pay rent. The first month that he moved back in after he was unemployed, he went to Las Vegas, okay? That was on Memorial Day. Didn't tell me anything. And then he comes home, oh, I'm broke, I went to Las Vegas. Like, what the hell you go to Las Vegas for? Oh, so I could see if I can win some more money. And I'm like, you've got to be stupid. And every day, that month that he was there and he was unemployed, I gave him money, because every day I had to go to work.
Are you finished?
Yes.
What's the address of this apartment where you live together?
802, apartment A. He didn't help me with the chores. He didn't help me take care of it.
I don't care. I'm not your therapist, madam. This is a court.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Are you telling me that this attorney, under the penalties of perjury in the state of California, is lying?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, really? Maybe I'll call him.
And later today...
She was in high demand because she was a natural blonde and had natural big breasts.
I'm sure if I chose to pursue that career instead of a research scientist, I would be in high demand, yes.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Dancer LaDonna Sanchez wants her former close friend Sean Henry to pay her for back rent. Sean says she kicked him out.
So what happened with the VCR that you said was yours?
He took it from me. I went to sleep. He went in my room and took it out of my room.
Okay. Now, what's your story?
I let her use it. I never said she can have it. I bought it.
Utter crap.
Shh.
I said you could use it.
Now, you also say that you made some loans to him. You want to tell me about that?
The month that he moved in, since he was unemployed, he would ask me for money every day.
I'm not talking, Miss, listen to me. I'm not talking about the $5 and the $10 that you say you gave him because he was unemployed. Did you lend him any large sums of money for which he promised to make payment?
Not all at one time. Every day, can I borrow some money? Can I borrow some money?
Did you keep a record of that?
He was my best friend.
Did you keep a record? The answer is no. So you're just guessing about how much money you lent
No,
him?
I'm not. I knew how much money I had saved in my drawer before he had moved in.
So how much money did you give him?
$350.
I don't believe that you can.
I did. Every day I gave him $20 or $30 every day because he needed it.
So
he
you
needed
did
it for
write
gas.
down-
He was supposed to go look for a
Did
job.
you write-
I bought him news.
You're not listening to me, Miss Sanchez. I said that you write down these numbers.
I didn't think I had to.
Well, then that's a problem.
He's supposed to be my best friend. He was supposed to be my little brother.
Now you're countersuing up for a lot of money too. Let me hear it.
Well, one time
Not well. Look at me.
she got arrested coming back across the border, and she needed a lawyer. So she called me crying, I need a lawyer. So I paid $1,500 for a retainer to try and help her out.
When was this?
June 26, 96.
Does that sound familiar to you?
No.
You just took out a piece of paper. What is that?
This is the piece of paper that was the only thing that I gotten from that lawyer. I saw that lawyer once. I knew it wouldn't do me any good. I cussed Sean out on the phone about what do I need a lawyer for? The lawyer wasn't going to do me any good.
Just a second. You went to see a lawyer.
No, I didn't. The lawyer came to jail. And I'm like,
Lawyer came to jail. Lawyers don't do anything for free.
I didn't ask him for the lawyer. I never asked him for a lawyer. And if I did ask for a lawyer, it wouldn't be from him. It would have been from Root, my boyfriend.
Listen to me. Where were you when you paid this lawyer? Were you in
I was
California?
Yeah.
Does he have a receipt?
I have a feeling you two people deserve each other because you are, Miss Sanchez, irritating me. And I'm just about ready to show you the door. Do you understand?
Yes.
With nothing. Not your $1,100, with nothing, if you do it again. You got it? I want you to show me any documentation, sir, that you have with regard to this lawyer.
Right here.
Can I see it, please? Well, this clearly is a letter from an attorney indicating that he accepted a non-refundable retainer in the amount of $1,500 from the defendant on your behalf on the 26th of June, 1996.
That's his ex-girlfriend's boyfriend's father. Why wouldn't he write him that piece of paper?
Are you telling me that this attorney, under the penalties of perjury in the state of California, is lying?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, really? Maybe I'll call him.
No,
Maybe I'll call him. You want me to call him?
Can you look at this for me
Sure.
for a minute?
I asked you a question. Do you think I have to call him?
No.
Right.
But he was never my attorney. I did not ask Sean to get me a lawyer.
How did you find out she had been arrested?
She called me from jail.
I believe that, Miss Sanchez.
I did not ask him.
How would he know that you're in jail unless you
I
called him?
did call him from jail.
And what did you call
We
him for?
lived
To say,
together.
how are you?
No, we lived together.
This happened a long time ago, correct? Did you ever sue her for this money?
No.
Why?
So I cared about her.
Good.
Excuse me, Your Honor, may I say something?
Sure.
When the lawyer
People
thing
deserve each
came
other.
about,
You're lying, Miss Sanchez. Don't lie to me. I don't like when you lie to me.
I did not. I'm not lying.
Sure you are. Now, was there ever an agreement that you had with her that she would repay this lawyer's fee to you?
Well, we had an agreement.
Mr. Henry, you don't want to go down that road, sir. I guess you do. You want to tell me about this agreement? Tell me what words we used, Mr.
Well,
Henry.
she said, get me out of here. Whatever it cost.
And you said?
I'll try the best I can. I borrowed the money from my brother.
No, don't tell me how you borrowed the money. She said, get me out of here. Right?
Yes.
And you did.
Well, I tried.
Okay. No, an agreement to pay it back means get me out of here, whatever it costs, and I will pay you back. That's a contract. That's an oral contract. But you didn't have that with her.
No.
Okay. Well, that's what I thought. So, that's honest.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
You never paid rent. You didn't clean up the house. You didn't clean up your stuff. I had to sit up there and pick up after you. Bought food and everything.
And later today,
She begged me for sex, Your Honor. Literally.
Mr. Swan, you're not that attractive, sir. Thank you.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Exotic dancer LaDonna Sanchez wants her former close friend Sean Henry to pay her for back rent, loans, and a stolen VCR.
A, I can't figure out who owns the VCR. I have a bill here for $213. So
She's also
I can't,
caused damage to my truck.
so I can't make a determination with regard to the VCR. I can only make a determination with regard to the contract that you both entered into, indicating that you are indebted to her for the amount of $1,000. Now, you want to tell me about this truck?
Yeah, she's damaged it.
Well, tell me about that.
Well, one time at work, she said she locked the keys in, so she had to break the back window, and I had to pay for that.
I paid him back.
And when we were in a fight, I wouldn't let her drive it. She didn't have a license or insurance on it.
So what did she do to the truck?
She kicked it. Put a nice dent on the driver's side door.
Let me see.
I got estimates of the damage right here.
Looks like there's lots of damage on this truck. Lots of scratches on this truck.
From his DUIs.
Okay, how about your boyfriend kicking it?
Oh, wonderful. You ready? Dismissed! Dismissed! Goodbye.
Step out.
I don't understand why it was dismissed. Because I talked? He was supposed to be my best friend. Okay, he dogged me just because I won't be his stupid girlfriend. Sorry. Now it's dismissed because you're stupid. Never see my f***ing money again. Make me sick.
And now the next case.
Parties on Maris versus Swan. Step forward.
32-year-old research scientist Ann Maris is suing her former friend, physical education instructor William Swan, for unpaid credit card bills.
Why do women give men credit cards?
I think it has something to do with the word convinced. Mr. Swan looked me straight in the eye and told me he loved me, wanted to marry me, that I thought he had morals.
Mr. Swan, go ahead.
I thought he had morals.
How did you meet him?
I met him in the produce section of an Asian store, Asian market.
And how long did you know him before you put his name on your credit card?
5 months.
And had you dated during that 5 months?
Beginning about 2 or 3 months prior to that, we started seeing each other on a more regular basis and talking pretty much every day on the phone, at least once.
So he needed some credit, and you said you'd give him credit on your card.
He said one morning, I talked to him from work, and he said he desperately needed a refrigerator, that he was getting skinny, and that his brother wouldn't loan him the money, and that it would be about $500. And I told him I didn't have the money, and I thought we could find one a lot cheaper than that, as I had paid $100 for mine, and that I would be willing to let him put it on a credit card that had no other money on it, so we could be clear. And he had told me he was going to pay it out of his tax return, and he didn't know why his brother wouldn't loan him the money.
Okay. To make a long story short, because Mr. Swan is going to tell me what his defense is, he ran up bills on the credit card totaling $1,500.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
And he does not dispute that.
No.
Is that right, sir?
That's correct.
But this is your defense, that you had an agreement with her. And your agreement was that as long as you maintained the payments on the credit card, that she would keep it open.
Absolutely.
But that there came a point when you took out a significant amount of money. How much, $1,100?
Yeah.
And that after you took out that amount of money, she closed the credit card down.
Yes.
So your defense is that she breached the agreement
Yes.
by canceling the credit card, and therefore you do not owe her this money. That's what your defense is.
Something to that effect.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Well, why don't you tell me what I got wrong?
Well, not that I don't necessarily owe, but the fact that she breached our contract with reference to me keeping the payments paid that I shouldn't have to pay, because she cut it off basically out of spite because I wouldn't have sex with her.
That's not true, of course.
She begged me for sex, Your Honor.
What is that?
Literally.
Mr.
And
Swan,
I just, you know.
Mr. Swan, you're not that attractive, sir.
Thank you.
What does this have to do about owing?
She
her
thought so.
Order.
Well, sometimes love is blind. Mr. Swan, you're not serious with me, are you? You're not trying to tell this to me with a straight face, that you don't owe the money that you took out on her credit card because she breached the agreement when she cut off your credit.
I never said I didn't owe it.
You sure you said, as far as I'm concerned, she broke the agreement and I have no intention of giving her a dime.
That's what I said. But
That's what you said right here in your answer.
Yeah, but I didn't say I didn't know.
You owe $1,500, judgment for the plaintiff. That's right.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
She was in high demand because she was a natural blonde and had natural big breasts.
I'm sure if I chose to pursue that career instead of a research scientist, I would be in high demand, yes. I hope to see him in jail.
Hope springs eternal.
Precious photos and memorabilia of his son.
Order, all rise. Right in the courtroom, please. Yeah, this is case number 292 on the calendar in the matter of Burge versus Burge. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Have a seat, sir.
Mr. Burge, you claim that your soon-to-be ex-wife, who was the defendant in this case, destroyed or threw away some irreplaceable memorabilia of yours after you were out of the house. You place a dollar value on that memorabilia at $5,000. She says that you were an abusive drunk who hit her, left the house, disappeared for months. She had no idea where you were, and ultimately got fed up with storing this stuff and just got rid of it. Correct?
That is correct.
So, how long were you married to each other, actually living together?
On and off for close to 3 years, give or take. We were only married right at 4 months, though, when I left.
And I gather you were living with the defendant's father.
That is correct.
All right, so tell me about your departure from the house.
The evening that I left, I was quite intoxicated, if you'll bear with me. This is the first time I've seen Michelle since the evening that I've left, and I still haven't really gotten over her, but the night that I left, I did become intoxicated. I went back to her father's mobile home, whereas we had another argument, and I was intoxicated enough that I don't recall whether or not she hit me and knocked me down or she shoved me and knocked me down. At that time, I got up, I slapped her, and I left, and I never went back. That was my understanding with her. I had told her if I ever raised my hand to her, that I would leave. And that was the only time, Your Honor, that I had ever raised my hand to her.
So you left?
Yes, ma'am.
And how long were you gone before you made a request for this property that you say you left behind?
It was about 2 months.
And how did you make that request for the property?
By telephone originally?
Talking directly to her?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, what property did you leave behind, sir?
I left my clothing, camping equipment, fishing equipment, some tools, an awful lot of books, memorabilia, my son's photographs from when he was a child, and I requested if I paid UPS prepaid, would she box these items up and send them to me? And at that time, I never really got a response from her.
Well, did she tell you that she had already disposed of all the stuff?
Not at that particular time, no.
Where were you for those 2 months, sir?
I was working, living in a little town called Antioch. I was living with my sister, and I was working, pumping gas.
Why didn't you call the very next week and make arrangements to pick up your stuff?
The emotional situation is that I had been fairly mentally abused by her on a number of occasions. As a matter of fact, there were times that I spent as many days in my van living there. This is my secure area. After an argument, you have to excuse me.
Do you have a drinking problem, Mr. Burge?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Has it been a long-standing problem with alcohol?
Yes, ma'am. Although this was one of the reasons I believe that Michelle had asked me to move in with her father. He also has a drinking problem, and he needed a drinking buddy.
Were you drinking all during the 3-year relationship with Michelle?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, Michelle.
Yes.
Why don't you first tell me your version of what happened on the night that your husband left?
He was supposed to meet me that evening, and we were going, my son and him and I were going to go to MGM Adventure Park. He never came home. He never showed or called. And so when I returned from the park, because I went ahead and went, I found him at a casino in town. Saw his van parked in the garage, and I went in and we looked for him, my son and I both. He wasn't there. So we went on home, and there he sat on the ground, very intoxicated and laughing. And I said, thanks a lot for showing up for us. And I did push him on the shoulder and he fell back. But I proceeded to walk down the hall and out, and he came after me and he hit me with a fist, closed fist, like a man would hit a man. And it spun my head around. And I couldn't close my jaw for 7 days thereafter. At that point, we called the police. I was yelling, Dad, he's hitting me. Help me. He came out of the bedroom, and the police were called. At this point, Glenn tried to take my car and leave because his van was obviously still parked at the casino. And I pulled him out of the car, and I recovered my car. At that point, he walked down the street, got a neighbor to take him back to his van at the casino, and I never saw him again or heard from him.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I even went into rehab for 3 days.
What didn't work?
Well, after being out of rehab for 3 or 4 days, Michelle would make me a cocktail.
And later today,
I wouldn't have been there if it wasn't for you, Susie. And every time I do something for you, this is the way I get it.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 52-year-old engineer Glenn Burge is suing his soon-to-be ex-wife Michelle, claiming she threw away precious photos and memorabilia of his son.
What had you done with all of his belongings?
Put him in an unlocked shed outside of our mobile home, which meant he had access at any time, day or night.
Ultimately, what did you do with them?
We left him there for which I have receipts from the Salvation Army until March 6th of '97.
And then they came and took all the stuff?
Yes.
What about his pictures and that sort of stuff?
They took it all. It was thrown in garbage bags and boxes and kind of.
And it had been 3 months that you hadn't heard from him, according to you?
Not at all. I contacted his aunts and uncles, which I had his address book, so I went through it and found some. Took a chance that he might be, and he was. He had been there. And so they kind of directed me to an address and a phone number.
So who called him? Did you call him?
Yes.
And what did you say when you called him?
I didn't reach him. I reached the relatives. Yes, Glenn was here. He stayed a few days and left.
So you never really reached him?
No, but he got the message, so he called back.
And when he called you, you still had the property?
Yes, we did.
So what was the conversation?
It was, hi, how are you doing? I can't live in Las Vegas anymore. Drinking's too available, and I would like you to come live here with me. And I don't really remember if the property really was mentioned at that time.
But then there came a time when you did call Salvation Army.
Yes.
Now, how much time passed between this first conversation that you had with him and the time that you actually disposed of the property?
Approximately 1 month later.
And why did you dispose of it at that time?
Because I received a letter from Glenn saying that he would be there on a Saturday and pick up his things. And I agreed, fine, we'll meet you here Saturday, and he never showed.
Do you have that letter?
No, that was no, I don't.
Do you remember writing a letter to her?
No, ma'am, there was never a letter written.
My father remembers this, Your Honor.
I believe you.
Okay.
I believe that maybe you don't remember, sir. Mrs. Burge, I gather from your husband that you knew that he had a drinking problem at the time that you married him, because you were together for 3 years, before you married him.
Yes, I did.
Why would you
I
do
didn't
that?
know it was to that extent at that point.
But you knew he had a drinking problem.
Yes, and he had said he was going to work on that, and I had hoped he would.
You know, I get the sense from looking at both of you and listening to you, sir, that you still have some very strong feelings for her.
Yes, I do. I did since the first day that I ever met the lady.
And I also have a sense that but for his drinking problem, you feel strongly about him.
We did. We had a very, very, very close relationship, and it was good when. It was good when it was.
It was good when it was good. Mr. Burge, what have you done, if anything, to deal with this problem that you have?
I haven't had a drink, Your Honor, in almost 3 months. During the course, if I may add, during the course of our relationship, towards the ending of it, I even went into rehab for 3 days.
But it didn't work.
Well, after being out of rehab for 3 or 4 days, Michelle would make me a cocktail.
You have to understand, Miss Burge, the nature of the illness. You know, you can't treat it as if it's a thing that you can turn on and turn off. Sometimes you don't understand that. You believe that he hasn't had a drink? Looks pretty straight to me.
It's possible.
If he did enter a period of sobriety in his life, would you be interested in trying to save your marriage?
I'm not certain because he did hit me, and it wasn't the first time. He had tried to hit me before, but he
Well, that was
wasn't
only when he was
successful.
drunk?
Yes.
Well, that's what I'm saying to you. I mean, nobody should live in an abusive kind of relationship.
No.
But he did leave.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, because I think he felt terrible that he did that.
And the police were on the way.
He probably was too drunk to even understand that.
Think so?
Mr. Burge, your lawsuit is a relatively simple one, sir. She doesn't have to store your property. She hadn't heard from you for many months. I do believe that you did make arrangements to go and pick up the property, and that you didn't show up, and she got fed up and ultimately said, just get the stuff and any recollection of this man out of my life because I don't want to deal with him anymore.
If I may, I also have phone records stating, or actually physically showing, that I have been in contact with her since December, January, February. And
She says that. She says that you had
right.
been.
And in February, I'd also sent her a dozen long-stem roses to her job. I was trying to keep this relationship going as long as I could possibly because of the feelings.
Then you wouldn't want to be punitive, Mr. Burge.
Right.
And you did, in fact, hit her, and I believe that you hit her. Whether you realized it at the time or not, it was more than a slap. So you're going to have to live with the fact that because you have a drinking problem, you did certain things that were really the antithesis of good behavior for any human being to another.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I certainly get the sense from the two of you that neither one of you is prepared to totally throw in the towel. Maybe you can ditch Dad for an hour and go out and have a cup of coffee.
And later today,
You using me is over with. It's over with. That's it, Susie. That's it.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Glenn Burge wants his estranged wife, Michelle, to pay for the loss of photos and memorabilia of his son. Michelle says she held on to his belongings for 6 months.
I don't think she's a bad person, sir.
She's not.
Okay. So then we really shouldn't be here today, other than perhaps for you to see her, because you said it's the first time that you've seen her since you left.
Yes, ma'am.
I certainly get the sense from the two of you that neither one of you is prepared to totally throw in the towel. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Pardon me, sir. Maybe you can ditch Dad for an hour and go out and have a cup of coffee or breakfast and just talk. Is that a possibility?
If she's willing.
You willing?
I don't know.
Well, you see about it, Miss Burge. If your husband, who I clearly believe you have some feelings for, still. No or yes?
No, I would say no.
Really? Okay.
Yes. Just too much has happened.
I can understand that. I can understand that. Mr. Burge, you may have to try a little harder, sir. She's vacillating a little bit, so you may have to try. Maybe 3 months isn't enough. In any event, I'm not entertaining a claim for $5,000, sir. I am dismissing your lawsuit. That's all.
Thank you. Excuse you may step out.
And now the next case.
Parties on Bishop versus Baum. Step forward, please.
35-year-old Lori Bishop is suing her former girlfriend, Ingeborg Baum, for the cost of a parking ticket. Ingeborg says it's not her fault she got the ticket and refuses to pay for it.
This was your friend. She asked you to do her a favor and drive her downtown because your daughter was in jail?
Yeah.
And you didn't have a car?
No.
So you did her a favor, drove her downtown, parked your car where you shouldn't have.
Well, not really where I shouldn't have. We parked the car. We stayed there. We tried to find out where Renati was going to be. And
Renati
how
is
long
your daughter?
Yes.
Find out how long it was going to be before she got released. Well, we'd been there probably about 3 hours, and we got back to the car, and Susie says, "What is that on your windshield?" And I says, "It can't be a ticket because I can park here. I parked here before. I know we can park here." So we went and got something to eat. We came back, and we parked across where in this little complex. And it said, "No parking, towaway zone." I'm like, I don't feel good about this. So when we started our trip out, I told her that I'd pay for the gas. I mean, she has to pay for the gas, but I'd give her the ride. So we got to the gas station, and her ATM card wouldn't work. So I put $20 in my car, and then I got $20 for us to eat because we weren't sure how long it was going to be for us, before we got back.
You parked your car where you shouldn't have parked your car, Miss Bishop.
Right. Well, I did. Well, it was the sign said parking this way, no parking this way, right there.
What is that? Just a second. What does that have to do with her?
Well, I wouldn't have been there if it wouldn't have been for her.
That's what she keeps saying, and
I
told
wouldn't have been there. I did her a favor. I've done a lot for this lady.
Miss Bishop,
a lot.
listen to me. Your argument is that but for the fact that you were doing her a favor, you wouldn't have had your car down in that location, and you wouldn't have gotten a ticket.
Right.
And therefore, she is responsible for the ticket.
Right.
Let's say you were driving with her to pick up her daughter, and you were speeding.
Right.
And you got a just a second. And you got a speeding ticket. Who would be responsible for that speeding? Who would be responsible?
I would be.
Because you did the wrong thing.
Right.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Now, you try to explain to me how it's different parking where you weren't supposed to be parking. And speeding.
Well, because she didn't have the money to pay where we could park, where it wasn't going to cost us any money. I mean, where it wasn't going to, cause me any harm. She didn't have the money. She didn't have any money when we went.
But then when you parked there under the tunnel, I asked you, can you park here?
Right, and I could because I did before.
So I asked you.
Just a second. So you said you've parked there before and you didn't get a ticket.
Right.
This time you did.
Right.
Pay it.
Okay. Well, what about the money that I took $40 to eat on for the parking, to finally pay the $5 for the parking and stuff. What about that?
Just a second.
When I called up her one day,
Bishop, I think she's responsible for those out-of-pocket expenses. The gas, right?
Yeah.
You've paid $5 to park the car after you moved the car when you got a ticket? Were you with her when she moved the car?
Yes.
And she paid $5 for that?
Yes.
You think you're responsible for that?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I agree with you. That's $25. And if you think that you were wrongfully given a ticket,
right,
then you have to go argue that the Parking Violations Bureau. You go before a hearing examiner and tell them your story. But you parked your car in the wrong place. You got a ticket.
Right.
You have to pay for it.
Well, okay.
Good. Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of $25.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
That's not right, Susie. That's not right. Okay? I wouldn't have been there. I wouldn't have been there if it wasn't for you, Susie. And every time I do something for you, this is the way I get it. I mean, what about the $100? I had to get it from her.
Yes, I will.
Yeah, pay for the gas. What about everything else, Susie? So I'm just stuck with a ticket. I have nothing to say to you after this point. Even though I was a friend enough and took my whole day away to take you down there, you can't help me out by paying half the ticket? Yeah, walk off, Susie. Just walk off.
Judge, number 230 on the calendar in the matter of Garrett versus Bradford Ullman. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated.
Miss Garrett, this is your granddaughter.
That's correct.
Your name is Bradford?
Yes, ma'am.
And you're her boyfriend?
Yes.
You live together?
Yes.
And you have 2 children?
3.
3 children, but they're not your children?
No, ma'am.
Ms. Garrett, you're suing your granddaughter and her boyfriend.
Yes, Your Honor.
Because you rented them a house.
Yes, I did.
And you say that A, they did not pay rent.
That's correct.
B, they vandalized your house.
Yes.
And they took property that was yours from the house.
Absolutely.
When did you and why did you rent this house to them?
Well, Misty lived there prior for a year, approximately, prior to a year of her mom moving out.
So originally her mother lived there and she lived with her mother and her 3 children.
Exactly. And then the mother moved out and Misty...
That's your daughter?
My daughter. Misty didn't have any place to go, nor the money to go anyplace else. So I told her I would rent her my house, and I did.
What was the monthly rental?
$466. That covers my mortgage payment.
Now you admit, Miss Ullman, that you did not make one rental payment.
Yes.
And that's after you say you were served with an eviction notice from your grandmother.
Yes.
So you admit that you owe her that money.
Yes, I do.
There came a time when you decided to evict her.
Yes.
Can you tell me why?
Well, for one thing, they were not paying the rent, which I needed. I'm on a fixed income. I needed the rent money to cover my own expenses. I have enough to take care of my own personal needs, but not that of Misty, her boyfriends, or her children. So I needed the money for that. And the eviction started over the payment. There was also other problems involved during the eviction.
Like what?
Over the children.
What?
I heard verbal abuse from Mr. Bradford with the 3 children. I was very much concerned about that. They were going to ship the young boy off to Alaska to a father that he hardly knew, to people that did not know him. And I was very upset.
Her oldest child they were going to send to the father's house.
In Alaska, because he was causing problems. He does have a behavior problem. But to me, you don't have throwaway children.
How close do you live to them?
I lived about 60 feet in a studio apartment that's on the same property as my big house.
Before you served them with an eviction notice, did you tell them that you wanted them to move out?
Yes, I did.
Are you sure?
I sent them a letter asking them to come to me to work out a payment plan for the rents owed.
How many months' rent did they owe you by the time they left?
She stayed there. They stayed there. May I have a drink of water?
Please.
They stayed there for 3 months. They paid me a total of $580.
Do you have proof of payment of more than $580?
No, I do not. I used money orders, and I gave the money orders to my grandma, and then she went to the bank and made the payment.
She says that you gave her a total of $580 during the 3 months that you were living there.
We were there for 3 months, and I did pay the first 2 months. The third month I did not pay.
She says that one of the reasons she started eviction proceedings is because you weren't paying her.
No, that is not true. And
well, then do you have the receipts to show me 2 payments of $466
No,
each?
Your Honor, I do not.
And are you saying that the total they paid you was $580?
That's correct.
And she's also claiming that we owe, or that the rent was $466, which the mortgage payment and the insurance together is, but I was only responsible for $290 of it.
Why?
I didn't pay the insurance. That was not our agreement.
Just a second. Maybe when your mother was living there, it was split differently, but what was your mortgage payment?
$466.02, in fact.
You have proof of that?
Yes, I do.
Can I see it?
Your Honor, actually, the payments were $290 as they were when the mother lived there.
No. No. Who said so?
That's exactly how much they were.
She says that you had an understanding that you were going to pay whatever amount it was to cover her mortgage payment.
She's claiming $466, I believe, but that's not true, Your Honor.
Well, I want to see whether it's $466. She's going to show me.
The mortgage may, with the insurance, may indeed be that, but that doesn't mean that was the agreement to pay that.
Well, why should why should she subsidize you? Where can you find a house for $466?
Well, I don't think that's the issue.
No, just a second. Where can you find a house for $466?
You can find them in Fresno. They're available. The people can scoff if they want. You're in Los Angeles. In Fresno, it's not uncommon to find a house for $450. It may not be palatial, but it'll be something that you can live in.
Well, was this a nice house?
Yeah, it is a nice house. It's an older house, 70 or 80 years old, and it's very large.
Right. Well, $466 doesn't seem to me outrageous. Do you work?
Ma'am.
Do you work?
Do I work?
Yeah.
Yes, I do.
What kind of work do you do?
Well, I just got a job as a production supervisor with a poultry company.
What were you doing during the time that you were living with Ms. Ullman in her grandmother's house?
Well, you mean, was I seeking employment or was I working?
No, were you working?
No, at that time I wasn't working. I was seeking employment.
Well, who was supporting you?
I received unemployment.
How much?
$400 a month.
And were you working?
No.
Why not?
Well, I have a few things that I'm a recovering addict alcoholic, and during that time I've been seeking therapy and help for myself and for my kids, and that...
Well, you certainly weren't living on $400 a month that he was getting from unemployment insurance. So you must have been subsidized by the state in some way. Is that right?
Yes.
So you were receiving welfare?
Yes.
How much?
A total of $620 a month.
So you were receiving $620 and he was getting $400. That's $1,000 some odd dollars a month, more than enough to pay Grandma's mortgage.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
While she was involved with drugs, involved with alcohol, she had 2 more illegitimate children with 2 other men. Now, Mr. Bradford, you can understand why her grandmother was slightly frustrated.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Lavelle Garrett claims her granddaughter, Misty Oman, and Misty's boyfriend, Tom Bradford, did not pay rent, stole, and damaged her property. Misty says her grandmother is trying to control her.
Now, let's get beyond the mortgage. Let's get to this vandalism. You have photographs of the house?
Yes, I do. It's under the green tag there that you have. I also have the color ones for you if you would like. Those are copies.
I'd like to see the originals, please. One of the things, Miss Garrett, that I'm sort of surprised at, well, I'm not faulting you because, you know, you came prepared for this lawsuit, but that you took such care to prepare this lawsuit when your granddaughter was involved. So my sense is that there's something more to this than just this property damage. Did you have a fight with her about sending this young boy to Alaska?
Yes, I did.
When did you have that fight with her?
It was after the eviction.
No, Your Honor, that's not true. It was prior to the eviction.
Okay, I couldn't be mistaken about that, Your Honor. I'm not sure. I mean, there's been an ongoing argument about this child for a long time because of my concern for his welfare.
Did you ever ask your granddaughter if your grandson could come and live with you?
He did live with me for 1 year. He was in my custody for 1 year. At this time, as we speak, he is living with my daughter.
With his maternal grandmother?
Right.
Is that through the state?
No.
By agreement?
By agreement between Mr. Bradford and Miss Oman.
Well, what does he have to do with it?
You tell me.
Nothing is the answer. I'd like you to look at some of these photographs and tell me whether any of this looks familiar to you.
I'd also like to add, Your Honor, this is a very sad day for me to have my granddaughter in court. I have loved this young lady for 24 years, and this is very, very sad for me to have her in court. But I've had it. I'm up to here with her, the men she's been dragging in and out of her children's life.
Your Honor, I'm trying to be polite and be reserved and be respectful of the court. And, you know, I'm just going to take a chance here and speak out. You know, I'm a good human being. I'm not going to be ashamed of the fact that I'm in between jobs. Many people in America are in between jobs right now. And it's nothing to laugh at or to be ashamed of. And I met Misty some months ago in March, in fact, and we developed a relationship. And we had a good relationship. In fact, her suitor, Bob Magretta, hired me to do a number of odd jobs for him while I was in between jobs. And in fact, after the eviction, offered me work and offered us a place to stay in one of his apartments that he rents. And we have a letter here stating that, saying you can come and live in one of my apartments and you can continue to have your job. We're not bad people. And I love her children and I love her. And we're planning to have a future together.
Mr. Bradford, let me stop you, sir. I don't doubt certain of the things that you said to me. You don't fall in love with children after 6 months. As
I didn't say I fell in love.
Just a second. You said
I love the children.
You say you love her and you love her children. You don't
Yes,
love
I do.
her children. You don't love her children. You may tolerate 2 of them, certainly. You didn't love the third one. The third one was being sent away thousands of miles away from his siblings because clearly he was not thriving in your home, and he was probably, in all probability, you don't send the child away unless they are particularly troublesome.
He was going for a 4-week vacation, Your Honor, to see the father who she summons down to help with the child within the last few years. If you ask her, she'll tell you.
Just a second. That's not what it says in the answer.
When the doctors at the psychiatric facility recommended that we allow him to try to work out some of the unresolved issues by visiting with his dad.
What do you, Mr. Bradford, what do you think the unresolved issues are, sir?
Well, I'm not a professional in the psychiatric field, but
So you're not a professional, and you've been in this family for 6 months. You've been involved with these 3 children for 6 months. You have 3 children. Were you married once or more than once?
Once.
Once. And the father is, the person who lives in Alaska is the father of all 3 of your children?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, how many children is he the father of?
1.
1. And the other 2 children, do they have the same father?
No, Your Honor.
So I want you to listen to me very carefully, Mr. Bradford. What she said is she's had it up to here with the men that her granddaughter has brought into the lives of her grandchildren. And right now, very simple. I mean, just on its face, Misty acknowledges she had a substance abuse problem. Hopefully she's in recovery. But the bottom line is she has 3 children by 3 different men, only one of whom she was married to. She has a little boy who was clearly suffering as a result of A, his mother's addiction. She was, in all probability, neglectful of the children while she was involved with drugs. That's clear. You don't have to be a genius to figure that out. While she was involved with drugs, involved with alcohol, she had 2 more illegitimate children with 2 other men. Now, Mr. Bradford, you can understand why her grandmother, who has probably been around for all of these tragedies that have gone on for her grandchildren, is slightly frustrated. So don't tell me, sir, that we're good people, and I love all these 3 children, because this lady has heard that before.
Well,
you have to understand the frustration.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Am I guessing at the fact that each of her 3 children have 3 different fathers?
No,
not
you're
guessing at that. And I'm not guessing at the fact, sir, that you don't know one thing that went on in this family from your own personal knowledge for the last 10 years.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Airline technician Lavelle Garrett says her granddaughter, Misty Oman, and her boyfriend, Tom Bradford, owe her for back rent and damaged property. Misty says it all started when she sent her son away.
Now, all I want you to do is look at those photographs and you tell me whether any of that damage to her property looks familiar. Just look at it.
There are some things that I am responsible for, but
like
some
what?
of this, for example, the broken portable closet, no. This screen.
What are you responsible for?
The screen right here, the cat potty.
The what?
The feces, the cat feces that they left in my bathroom floor, plus cat litter in my kitchen with cigarette butts and cat feces in it. The pictures are all here.
You're not suing for that much money. Right now, you're almost to the amount of money from back rent.
This coffee cup right here that's broken on the porch, somebody threw that at the window. And I asked...
Keep going.
Your Honor?
What?
The doorbell was removed because he took it down. It didn't work. He took it down. He was going to repair it. Grandma said that she didn't have the money to repair it, so we just left it on top of the refrigerator. This stuff is all just a mess from moving.
Just a minute. What do you mean it's a mess from moving? Why did you leave a mess when you moved?
We were moving, so we had
Who was supposed to clean it up?
No,
Missy, who was supposed to clean it up? Did you come back and clean up your mess after you moved?
Yes, this stuff we took with us.
I'm talking about the mess after you left. Cat litter, cigarette butts in the cat litter, dirt all over the place. Did you come back and clean that up?
No, my grandmother did not want me to come back to clean it up.
Did you? You mean you called your grandmother and said, I left the house a mess, I want to come back just for a day just to clean up the mess?
No, my grandmother made it very clear, do not come back.
The sheriffs escorted her out, and when she forgot 1 or 2 items inside the place in her, hasty exodus from the residence, they wouldn't even let her back in to get those items, okay? And so, when a sheriff's there and the kids are all on the porch crying, when she's trying to get her stuff and get out, I'm not making her out to be an angel, but she's a good person, Your Honor, and I love her. And you see her sister over there crying, and I'll tell you why she's crying. Because you're making her out to, you're guessing, and I respect your position.
I'm not guessing, Mr.
No, that's
Bradford.
exactly what you're doing. That's exactly
I'm not
what you're
guessing,
doing.
sir. Am I guessing at the fact that Miss Oman has 3 children? Am I guessing?
That part you're not.
Am I guessing at the fact that each of her 3 children have 3 different fathers?
No,
not
you're
guessing
not.
at that. I'm not guessing at the fact that she was addicted to drugs and alcohol. I'm not guessing at that.
No, ma'am, you're not.
I'm not guessing at the fact that you've been involved in this family for less than a year. I'm not guessing at that.
No, you're not.
And I'm not guessing at the fact, sir, that you don't know one thing that went on in this family from your own personal knowledge for the last 10 years. You don't know that.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Miss Garrett, listen to me. Don't rent them an apartment anymore. I don't know if he's going to be long-term or short-term, whether he's going to be as long-term as the other 3 guys that were in your granddaughter's life. I haven't a clue. You've sued for very little money, slightly over $1,100. They owe you at least $800 in rent. That's your lawsuit. $1,184 is what your lawsuit was for. There is, based upon what I've seen, the mess alone in that apartment, as far as I'm concerned, takes at least $300 to clean up that kind of disaster. So, you tell me that this was a painful thing for you to do.
Yes, it is.
I not only think it's painful, I'm not so sure that I would have done it. I would have just said, from now on, I'm not going to bail my granddaughter out, and I would have eaten the $1,100. You chose not to do that, and I can't fault you for not saying, I'm going to chalk it up, and right from now on, they're on their own. It's sad that you brought her to court. She owes you the money. She owes you the money for rent, and she owes you the money for cleaning up the mess that she and her boyfriend left in your house. Judgment is for the plaintiff for the amount of $1,100. That's it, Miss Garrett. That's all. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
I love my granddaughter very much. I went through a lot of hell with my granddaughter. I've always been there for her. But this time I have had it.
For her?
Can you please shut him up?
I mean, is this being there for your granddaughter? To humiliate her?
He's been in this family for 3 months. He's totally destroyed it.
You're such a wonderful parent. Why would she have been addicted to drugs? I'll stand by her. I'll be with her for some time to come. And I can tell you who won't be. These two people right here. Mark my words. You're here to prove that we've destroyed all this, and I'm a prisoner. Go ahead, walk away.
Now she's suing Foster's son, Dustin, for bills he ran up on her Sears credit card.
Order, all rise. All rise, please. Quiet in the courtroom. Judge, this is number 132 on the calendar in the matter of Trevino versus Reeder. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Have a seat.
Miss Trevino. Mr. Reeder.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Reeder Sr. Step up here. Ms. Trevino, according to your complaint, you and Mr. Reeder Sr. were living together, correct?
No.
He wasn't living with you?
He stayed with me for a month. Stayed with you? I paid the rent.
Just a second. He was staying with you. He stayed with you for a month. This is his son.
Yes, ma'am.
He also stayed with you.
Yes, ma'am.
And while they were staying with you, you let Junior use your Sears credit card.
Yes, ma'am.
Why?
Well, we were good friends, and he was just starting a job, and there was stuff that he needed, like tool chests and stuff, and he promised to pay me back when he started working and started getting an income, and I trusted him. He's a nice kid. But now that Senior and I are no longer seeing each other, he doesn't want to pay me.
Why didn't you ask your father for money?
Because I like Sears tools.
Because what?
I like the tools that Sears put out.
So?
She had a Sears charge card.
Go ahead, sir. Maybe you can answer for him.
Actually, what happened, Your Honor, when we got together, and we were there a lot longer than any 2 months.
Well, first it was a month, now you say it was longer than 2 months.
It was a lot longer. The relationship went on for about a year and a half. Mr. Trevino's credit card was not being able to be used at the time, and I paid it up, brought it current. The Sears credit card, I paid up the Sears credit card where it could be used. I paid up her Visa credit card, which they never let her use it. Okay, at that time, my son could have asked me for the money, but I didn't even know they were going out and buying the tools. She took him to Sears and started on her own while we were still together. And as we were living together for quite some time, over a month, things went on between them. He could have gotten the money from me if he'd have asked me for it.
Well, that's what I want to know. Why didn't you ask your father to borrow the money for your tools rather than asking Miss Trevino?
Because she had a charge card for there.
But he had the money.
I never came up to ask him for that, Your Honor.
All right, so now you use the credit card. How much did you charge on her credit card?
About $1,100, Your Honor, or so.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And how much did you pay back?
$1,108.45.
You have proof of that for me?
Your Honor, what I have is my check register.
And what does it say in it?
That I have made payments. I have 9 checks totaling the amount of $508.45.
Is that made directly to Sears?
Sears and Mrs. Trevino.
Let me see it. Do you deny that he gave you these checks, madam? He's got them in his book.
He gave me checks for the rent when he was living there.
Some of this, how much rent?
He was paying $200 a month.
There are charges here for $32.45, $38, $75, $63.
For what?
I don't know. It says to Sandra Trevino.
Let me see your Sears bill, please. Was she charging you rent?
I paid her rent on my own will, and I never wrote her a check for rent. I just given her cash.
What do you mean you gave it of your own will, sir?
I was told I didn't have to pay rent, but I paid her anyway.
That's not true.
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, I was the one paying the rent at the time,
That's not true.
out of my own money. That's why he didn't have to pay rent.
He said he was giving her cash.
He did give her money, but like I said, it was because he wanted to.
So you say, sir, that you repaid her $508 by check. And this is for the tools that you bought on the Sears card. Is that right?
Yes.
But you also say you paid her cash
Yes.
twice.
Yes.
How are you going to prove that to me?
What? Man, I have no... we were friends at the time. I didn't think I needed a receipt for that.
Well, but you paid most of the money by check. Why would you pay $600 of it in cash?
Well, because I would go cash my check, and I'd just give her the cash instead of the check.
Why did you give her some checks? All of them were under $100. And then what you opted to give her in cash, you gave her in two $300 payments. That doesn't sound logical to me, sir.
Well, at the time, I had the cash on me. And the only reason why I didn't get a receipt was because I was living with her. She was seeing my father.
Did he ever give you cash?
No, ma'am.
He did not?
No, ma'am.
Okay, return this to him. Yes.
He did give her cash, Your Honor.
No.
And I've given her a lot of cash even since then.
No, I believe
A couple of times I didn't ask for receipts. Then at the very last, she started writing me receipts. I didn't bring them with me, but she did write me some receipts.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
She stole her car out of a shopping center before Christmas, and I got blamed for the car.
This is getting fascinating.
And later today,
I did see a cat, and I saw them, running after the cat, and I did see a cat.
I'm not sure I believe that you saw a cat.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Sandra Trevino says 26-year-old tow truck operator Dustin Reeder used her credit card and didn't repay her. Dustin says he paid her back in cash.
Ms. Trevino, why are you suing him now?
Because they were going through some bad times, and he didn't have any money. He went to jail for a couple months. The kids were trying to run the business, and they weren't making ends meet. And I was actually helping them keep the business going while he was. And
What kind of business?
Towing business.
Automobile towing?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you incarcerated for a period of time, sir?
Yes, I was.
For how long?
I was actually in jail for 45 days.
For what?
Because she had stole her car and I got blamed for it.
You're a lying sack.
That's right. She stole her car out of a shopping center before Christmas, and I got blamed for the car, and I didn't involve her in it. I took the heat because my lawyer advised me to take the heat. So I took it.
Explain. No, this is getting fascinating. This is much.
Hey, it's the truth. You can check it out with the courts.
Well, you can't check it out with the courts. If you pled guilty, sir, and served 45 days, then you pled guilty to something. Explain to me, she stole a car.
That's right.
Out of a parking lot.
That's right.
How did you get involved with it?
Well, when I first met Mrs. Trevino,
He tried selling it to cop.
she didn't have a car. She had problems with her car. I gave her the money to go out and put a down payment on a new car. When we started squabbling, she couldn't make the payments. So then she decided, it was insured, she decided that she would take it and collect the insurance off of it, which she did.
You're a pathological liar.
Wait just a second.
The car,
Pathological.
you didn't collect insurance?
Mr. Trevino, go ahead.
The car,
So she reported the car stolen.
that's right.
Ah, it's coming together. She reported the car stolen. And then the plan was for her to go out and sell the car once she got the insurance money for it. Is that right? Am I right?
You're close.
Well, tell me where I'm off. Tell me where I'm off.
Anyway, as it turned out, I got caught with the car
How did you get caught with the car?
because somebody had did some work on it, brought it back,
You mean did some work on it to sort of
changed the VIN
change
numbers.
the VIN numbers?
Changed the VIN numbers. Brought it back. I got caught with it. Okay? And like I said, at that time, I never brought it up. I never one time said anything about it to the law or anything. I just went to jail for it.
Well, you knew that.
And
You
believe me,
knew the
believe me, I wish
scenario,
I
so you
hadn't.
weren't blameless, sir, right?
I was partly blamed because I got caught with it.
What do you do for a living, sir?
I drive a tow truck.
Your father's tow truck?
Yes.
Did you graduate from high school?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. These tools that you bought from Sears, what did you need them for?
I like to work on cars.
Sounds to me, with the exception of this young man, these people all deserve each other. Well, I'm going to give you credit, sir, for the following. I believe that you gave her checks towards the Sears bill of $1,100 in the amount of $500, leaving a total of $600 left. Now, I want you to look in my eyes and tell me whether you gave her an additional $600 in cash.
Yes, ma'am, I did. In 2 installments.
Hmm?
I have given her $600 in cash for the tool bill.
For the tools?
Yes. On the
You gave
Sears
her
charge.
extra money for rent?
Yes, I was paying her $200 a month for rent.
In addition to the tools. Is that right?
Yes, every month I stayed there, I gave her $200 a month.
Ms. Trevino, I believe him. This young man, I believe. I don't know if I believe either of you two people, but I believe him that he paid you. This lawsuit is dismissed. That's all.
All right, excuse you may step out.
Pathological liars. They're known liars. That's all they do is lie.
And now the next case.
Bodies on Brown versus Silberg. Step forward.
32-year-old retail manager Paul Brown is suing his building manager, Greg Silberg, 52, because his dog fell off the roof when a cat frightened it.
Mr. Silberg, are you the owner of this building in question?
No,
Or are
I'm
you
the owner of the management company.
Okay. And this is a 3-story building.
Correct.
You, sir, live in that building?
Yes.
And how long have you lived there?
I lived there approximately about 9 months.
And you have a dog?
Yes.
That dog?
I have 2 dogs.
But that's the dog in question?
Correct.
You were going into your building?
Actually, I was going to walk my dog on the, and I was going to visit a friend on the 3rd floor. And
In the building?
In the building.
And your dog did not have a leash on?
They both had leashes on them. I took them in the elevator, walked up to the 3rd floor. I went to knock on my friend's door on the 3rd floor, which is right around the corner from the sun deck. And I had both dogs in one hand, on my left hand. And they saw a cat. This was late at night, about 10:30 at night. They saw a cat. They got loose. As I was running up the stairs, the dogs already were up on the patio or the sun deck, and that one fell. He was down below, and that was it. I mean...
Just a second. Did you see the cat, sir?
Yes,
Look at me.
Yes.
Did you see a cat?
Yes, I did. I saw a cat.
Late at night.
That's how they darted out of my hand.
Late at night, you're ringing a bell.
Knocking on the door, correct.
Knocking at a door, right? Like this.
Correct.
Where was the cat?
The cat was to the left, going up to the sun deck.
I'm not sure I believe that you saw a cat. That's first. I do believe that your dog ran up to the sun deck. Fell off. Right?
Right.
And you're suing him for $5,000.
Correct.
Tell me why.
Well,
Because that's the dog. The dog is here.
Right. First of all, I have pictures before and after, what the sun deck looked like before and after, and as well as the medical bills, which ranged into approximately about $1,300, $1,400. And for my dog's a championship dog, and I was actually going to breed him. I have papers on him, and as well as I have the notice from the city of West Hollywood saying that that sun deck was not properly permitted, and if they had the proper railing on that sun deck, my dog would have never fell. And that's why I'm suing him for $5,000.
I'll see all of his pictures.
And this is the medical bill. And I also have a letter from the doctor stating the condition of the dog.
Who found the dog?
Phil found the dog. He was downstairs waiting for me.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Can I say something?
Do you feel as if you must, sir?
You've kind of said it all, to be honest.
Then why don't you just be quiet?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Paul Brown is suing building manager Greg Silberg because his dog fell off the roof. Mr. Silberg says the dog should have been on a leash.
Describe the dog when you found him.
Well, I was standing outside, and I heard the loud noise, him hitting the concrete. When I found him, he was unconscious, tongue hanging out of his mouth. He was bleeding from his mouth. I went and grabbed a towel, picked him up. He was stiff. I didn't even know if he was alive anymore. And then I found a pulse. I took him into the apartment, found a pulse, called the veterinarian hospital, and we drove him immediately to the hospital. He was unconscious for a couple days.
Mm-hmm. When you found the dog that night, and I want you to think very carefully, sir, did the dog have a leash?
Yes.
How do you know that?
Because I found the dog.
A couple of things. I don't understand how this dog got away from you if you were holding both dogs in your hand with the leash.
I had them both on one hand as I was knocking on the door of the third floor. And I did see a cat, and I saw them, you know, running after the cat, and I did see a cat. And he went off, the other dog, because I called them both,
Just a
I called
second.
both
So
their
what,
names.
So what you're telling me is you had both dogs
In my left hand, correct.
in one hand.
Right.
And you couldn't control holding on to the leashes of both dogs.
No, because actually when they saw the cat.
Well, the cat's
okay,
not his fault.
Okay, but
Just a
but the balcony's his fault.
Just a second.
He broke the law. The law, I mean, that balcony was not properly permitted. If that balcony was properly permitted, that dog would have never fell.
This is not a place that you didn't know about. You knew about this place. Now, I'm not saying he's not in some way responsible for not having it properly gated off. I looked at the gate that he put up there. Your dog can get through that gate.
Yeah, but if
Just a second. If that's a proper gate that he put up afterwards, that little skinny dog can get through that gate and could have gotten through that gate that night. So could a cat.
Not running that fast.
What do you mean not running?
Not running. A dog cannot get through that gate. Those bars are approximately 4 inches apart. Now, if a dog's running at full speed, the dog cannot go through that gate.
You mean he'd have to stop and wiggle through?
He would have to stop.
Just a second.
He would realize that no.
The dog would realize.
He would realize that he would not be able to get through that gate going that fast. That's why the dog fell, because he was going so fast he didn't see the drop. That's why the dog fell. Now, if that gate was up there, the dog would have stopped.
This gate, sir, is not designed to keep out dogs and cats. It's designed to protect people. Dog and cat owners are responsible for taking care of their own pets.
Correct.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Just because there is an accident doesn't mean somebody has to pay you. That's not what the courts are about, sir. This is a people protector. And the fact that you suggest that a dog at full run couldn't go through there, that may be. Certainly, a cat can wiggle through here. Certainly, a small dog can get through here. The design
But not
of it...
at full speed.
I don't care whether it's full speed.
If the dog's chasing a cat.
You're never going to get through to him. Never going to get through to him, sir. Not every injury results in an award of money. You are responsible for keeping control of your dog.
And he's responsible for keeping the railing. I mean,
yes, sir, and I will tell you something else. If somebody chased you up on the roof that evening and you fell off the third floor because there was no adequate railing, you could sue him for a lot more than $5,000 because he is responsible, if you lived and if you could breed, because that's what you're complaining about. But because there was no bar or gate there, that's not the reason your dog fell. Your dog fell because you dropped the leash. And your dog
but I didn't drop the leash, Your Honor. The dogs got away from me. I didn't drop the leash.
Mr. Brown, sir.
Can I say something?
Do you feel as if you must, sir?
You've kind of said it all, to be honest.
Then why don't you just be quiet?
Okay.
This lawsuit is dismissed.
Party's not excused. Step out, please.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
Well, obviously, I'm delighted, and I just feel that Mr. Brown didn't take responsibility for his own action. First of all, the dog was there illegally. It wasn't
No, it
allowed
was not
on his
illegally.
lease.
You don't even know what your own manager does there. Your manager knew the dogs are there. You're saying illegally
on
now.
top of that,
I've been there 9 months.
He
If the
doesn't
dog's
want to
there
take
illegally after 9
responsibility.
months,
All he
then-
wants to do is everybody's responsible. The dog fell on its head, so
Do you feel you're not
concrete.
responsible for not having a proper sun deck up there?
Absolutely.
You're not responsible?
No, sir.
He broke the law. He should pay for it.
Using her Sears credit card and not repaying her. Rita is countersuing for the years that she supported Gracie.
Order. All rise. Quiet, please.
Judge, this is number 349 on the calendar, the matter of Braun versus Ho-Keen. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have seats, please.
I've read these papers. Let me see if I understand this. Miss Braun, you lived with the defendant for many years. Mm-hmm. Lived in her home.
Yes.
You were friends or friends of one of her children. Is that right?
Yes.
How old were you when you moved into her house?
18.
And how many years did you live there?
Till April 21st of 1996.
And how old were you?
I was 20.
So you lived there for 2 years?
Mm-hmm.
And did you get married? Is that why you left?
Mm-hmm.
According to your papers, there was a time when you allowed the defendant to use your Sears credit card, I believe on 3 occasions, and the total bill was about $500. That's what you're suing her for?
Yes.
She's quite offended, right?
That's right.
Tell me why.
Well, because of the fact that, you know, I opened my doors for her, you know, she was my daughter's best friend. And so I just figured, you know, and she was an 18, she was 17. I have proof because we had, at the time, we decided that she was going to live under our roof. We were going to give her medical and dental insurance to cover for her braces. I have the enrollment forms from my husband's state insurance.
So you covered her health insurance?
I covered her health insurance, her medical insurance. I paid for her homecoming prom dress that I have pictures of. You know, I didn't ask for anything in return. You know, and for her to have the audacity to come back at me for the $530-some, I did pay her back that. I did pay her in cash. I paid her. I never go without paying a debt, and I never thought that I'd have to have a receipt to carry with me to prove that I had paid her, because, you know, she would call me mother, she would call my husband dad. You know, I loved her as a daughter, and she wasn't really anything to me. And the only reason that I feel that she did this is because of the fact that her mother-in-law was upset because I wouldn't come out and give her money for the wedding expenses when she got married.
So this, you believe, is really over money for her wedding?
Exactly.
Tell me about that.
Well, when back at the time that she was getting her wedding arrangements done, we were going to be getting a settlement. My mother was run over and killed back in '95, and I was waiting for a check to come in. And at the time, I was also on disability. I've had back surgery. And I had offered to help out with the wedding expenses, you know, half of the wedding expenses.
That was very nice of you.
Yes, it was.
Why would you want to do that?
Because I loved her.
You have your own family?
Yes, I do.
You have children of your own?
Yes, I do. I have 2 children at home and a grandson and my husband.
And you volunteered to
I
pay
did.
for part of the wedding?
Yes, I did.
And then what happened?
And then when the months went and the money wouldn't be coming in, they were getting very stressful.
What do you mean the money wouldn't be coming
The money that was supposed to be coming in for the settlement. And it was getting closer to the wedding. And the mother-in-law was getting very stressful. Where's the money? Where's the money? And I didn't have the money. And what little that I did have, I went ahead and altered her wedding dress. And I had paid for the cleaning. I had paid $100 towards the mariachis. Just little things like that. But never did I ever hear that they had, you know, confronted the mother, the biological mother, for any money. After everything that we've done for her, I just can't understand why she comes around and wants to sue me for $532 when it's over an amount of over $5,000 that we have here in receipts.
Let me just take a look and see, because you have a counterclaim, which you understand.
Yes.
I really can't address, and I'm going to tell you why. Because you never had an agreement with her.
Exactly.
That she was going to repay you for your kindnesses.
Yes.
You gave to her because you wanted to. In order for me to entertain your countersuit, I have to find that there was a contract, even if it was a verbal one, for her to pay you. And there wasn't one.
Exactly.
Okay. So let me take a look at some of these things.
There is the orthodontist bill way at the back. It shows $1,000 paid towards her dental work.
Did she pay $1,000 towards your dental work?
Did she? No, she didn't.
Who
I
did?
have
The
copies
insurance.
right here of everything that I paid for. The contract is in my name. So I don't know what she's talking about.
Oh, did you actually pay for her orthodontic?
My husband's medical insurance paid for that, yes.
Now, when you were there for 2 years, 2.5 years, were you going to school?
Yes. I paid rent. I paid her $37.50 a week, which added up to $150 a month.
And what did that include?
I didn't have to pay for groceries or anything. The only thing that we had to pay for was shampoo and detergent, stuff that we used.
Okay. So for $150 a month, you covered your rent, your gas, electric, your food, and whatever other incidental expenses that they may have paid for. They took you out to dinner. When family went out to dinner, did you go with them?
Yeah.
And when the family went out to dinner and you went with them, were you asked to pay your share?
No, sometimes she would treat, sometimes we would treat. It was never like they paid for everything.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
If you do things for people, then that's out of the kindness of your heart. You don't have to keep a log. Oh, I did this, I did this, I did this.
I happen to think you're pretty ungrateful.
And later today,
I don't think he thought anything wrong with
The three of you living nicely together. You look like three nice people. You could live nicely together.
Yeah, the Golden Girls do it.
What? The Golden Girls do it? He's cute.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Gracie Braun says her best friend's mother, Rita Holguin, used her credit card and never paid her back. Rita says she not only paid her back, but she supported her for over 2 years.
Now tell me about the Sears credit card. Why did you need her Sears credit card?
The time that I used a charge card, it was probably just something that I had to buy, and the money hadn't came in yet, the settlement, and I knew I was going to pay her back. And I specifically remember paying her back because what I do is I put it in a list of who I have to pay. And when I got my settlement, my sister here, she was there when I showed her that I was going to pay Gracie. I entered my daughter's room, and I had the money in my hand. I says, Gracie, would you like for me to go pay the Sears account, or would you do it yourself? She had stated, I'll pay it later, Mom.
Your Honor, I moved out of her house while she was in Hawaii. I went back the night before, and she helped me get the rest of my stuff to take me. I don't know when she came and gave me this money, because I have statements here. She signed her own name on my card, and this one she signed my name. So I don't know if you want to look at these, but she never gave me any money.
But Ms. Braun, tell me about this wedding problem, because that's probably what precipitated this lawsuit. I can't imagine otherwise why you would, after what appears to me to be tremendous kindness by a total stranger to you, you would come into court and sue her for $500.
That wasn't even the thing. I called, I have talked to her on many occasions about this bill. I told her, I cannot afford to pay this anymore because that's not right. You know, she did do a lot of things for me out of the kindness of her heart, which I don't understand why she wants me, or why she's patting herself on the back. If you do things for people, then that's out of the kindness of your heart. You don't have to keep a log, oh, I did this, I did this, I did this.
We're talking about 2.5 or more years of taking care of, really, a total stranger. And there's something else here. I mean, maybe it's about this wedding business. Did you have a big wedding?
Yes, I did.
Did you expect her, was there an arrangement where you expected her to pay for part of the wedding?
I never asked her. She offered.
Offered to pay how much?
For half.
How much was the wedding?
I don't even know. My mother-in-law paid for everything. She made arrangements to pay for the whole thing. She offered to pay for half, so she started adding in, oh, let's have mariachis, let's do this, let's do that, because she was going to pay for half.
Right.
Well, 2 weeks before the wedding, she started saying, I can't pay for this, I can't pay for that, I can't pay for this. I never said anything to her about it. That was never an issue with me.
Were you angry? Was your mother-in-law angry?
No.
Then I don't understand why you're suing her.
Because it's money that she charged on my bill. I don't think that I should have to pay that.
And you say you paid her when she came back into the house?
I paid her when I got my settlement. As you can see, I have papers there where I got our check in '96. It was in March of '96 we got a check for $18,000.
How could you pay me in March when you didn't charge till the 2nd of March and the April 18th and 19th? How did you pay me?
Ms. Braun,
anyway,
I understand why you're so angry with her.
It's frustrating.
Why is it frustrating?
She's saying she paid me for something she hadn't even charged yet.
No, she said she got her settlement at that time, so she knew she had
That's
the
when
money.
she paid me, in March. She didn't even charge anything in March until March 2nd and April 18th and 19th.
Ms. Braun, I don't know why you're so angry with this lady. It's not what she said. She said she had the money because she got the settlement in March.
Then she should have paid me the money she owed me.
I'm not satisfied that she didn't pay you the money. I happen to think you're pretty ungrateful.
Yes, she is.
She says she paid you. Anybody who takes a total stranger into their house, treats her like one of their own for 2.5 years, when their own mother is not taking care of her, takes care of putting her on their insurance so that at least she has the opportunity of having her teeth fixed, so that she does have medical insurance, even if it's just another $20 a week that's taken out of this man's paycheck to ensure that you are covered by insurance. She fed you. She provided a roof over your head. Right. She treated you like a member of the family.
That's right.
So that means she's a pretty good person. And that means this pretty good person is telling me I paid her. I have to believe a nice person like Miss Holguin would not lie to me about paying you back. So your lawsuit's dismissed.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She burned the bridge that she walked on. You know, she doesn't have a family now. You know, she has nobody.
I have a family.
Oh, yeah. All right. That's right.
You guys used her. Thank you that the knight in shining armor came and took you
away. Good.
And now the next case.
Parties on Taylor versus Guillaume. Step forward, please.
50-year-old Hallie Taylor is suing 46-year-old bus driver Patricia Guillaume because of emotional distress while they both lived in the home of a former boyfriend named Lee Coleman. Patricia is countersuing for malicious prosecution.
Well, this is a very unusual complaint and countersuit. You're Lee?
Yes.
The cause of all the trouble. According to these papers, Miss Taylor, you unfortunately became homeless.
Yes.
Lee was a friend of yours.
Yes.
At first, he said that you could sleep in your car in his driveway,
Yes.
but then said, why don't you move into the house? Is that right?
Yes.
Just to be kind.
Yes.
Shortly thereafter, Lee over here extends an invitation to this young lady to also come to the house, to rent a room. Is that right?
Yes.
No, that's reverse. That's reverse. That's not. Pat was already there.
This is Pat.
Right.
Lee, you want to step up here? Don't talk to me sitting. I like when you stand when you talk to me, so come on up here. She was already living there when you invited Miss Taylor to come in to the house?
Yes.
For how long?
Oh, I was still moving my things in. And when I had gotten the last of my belongings in, then he had informed me that she was going to be living there.
Bottom line is, at about the same moment, these two women came into your house.
That's not true.
Within days of each other?
Yes.
Lane, sit down. Within days, you both found yourself living with Lee. You had no idea she was going to be there, and you had no idea she was going to be there.
Yes, I knew she was going to be there because he had already rented her the room.
But she wasn't living there already?
No.
Okay. And the two of you didn't get along?
No.
You two?
Yes.
And you say because you didn't get along, she caused you all kinds of stress, high blood pressure, hypertension, and you wanted to pay you $5,000.
Yes.
And you are suing her for malicious prosecution.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
She said another thing. If I want to F Lee, I wouldn't wait till you leave. I'll F him while you here.
Lee! Having two women live in your home is not a good idea.
I don't know that.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 50-year-old Hallie Taylor is suing 46-year-old bus driver Patricia Guillaume because of emotional distress while they both lived in the home of a former boyfriend named Lee Coleman. Patricia is countersuing for malicious prosecution.
All right, this is not going to take very long, Miss Taylor. Tell me how she caused you stress.
From day one, Pat aggravated me. She antagonized me.
Give me an example.
There are two incidents that took place. The first incident took place in the garage. We were in the garage talking. Lee, Pat. First was Lee and Pat. And then, all of a sudden, and she said, your girlfriend. And I was standing over there by the back of his truck. And she rushed over there to me and got in my face, and she said, don't you use my bathroom. Incident number two, she stated she wanted to have a talk face to face. Lee got us together with Lee present. We started talking. She did the talking first. She says, I don't like you. She said, I think you're nasty. I think you're a liar. I think you're a con woman. And I think you're not trustworthy. I said, well, Pat, I don't know how you can make all these consumptions about me. You don't know me for about 2 weeks. And then when she finished, I said, you finished saying what you have to say? So then I said what I had to say.
Well, what did you say? I said,
well, Pat, I can't help if you don't like me. But the things that you were saying about me is not true. That's not me. Okay. And before I said something else, and she said another thing. If I want to F Lee, I wouldn't wait till you leave. I'll F him while you here. And I said, well, go ahead.
That's honest.
Go ahead. I mean, I care less.
Okay.
And then she walked over to me and she rushed up in my face. I mean, she was so close, I felt the breath, her warm breath from her mouth.
What'd she say?
Her left breath touching my left shoulder. And then Lee saw that the conversation wasn't going anywhere, so he stepped in between us.
So those are the two incidents that you're complaining about?
Yes, and each incident I went to the hospital.
Miss Taylor, those were two what we call conversations, not worthy of a lawsuit. She didn't hit you. She didn't threaten you.
Oh, yes, she did.
No, not in the two instances you told me.
Yeah,
it's not a lawsuit.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Countersuit. What are you countersuing her for?
Well, this whole thing, it annoyed me. It annoyed me because
Miss
I
Guillaume, this whole thing annoys me. Let me tell you something. It's late, and I'm getting annoyed.
What had happened, once I had picked up the suit, I had sued Lee, Mr. Coleman, and...
What'd you sue him for?
I wanted my money back.
You mean the money that you gave him for your apartment?
Yes, what had happened...
Did you get it?
Yes, I did.
You did? Good. Well, that's good. You know, Lee, having two women live in your home is not a good idea. Miss Taylor, Miss Guillaume, this is not a case that belongs in court. Okay. Either your lawsuit or your countersuit. I think this gentleman made a very bad judgment. He was probably trying to be a good guy. I don't think he was trying to be bad. I think he was a friend of yours. He was trying to help you out. I don't think he thought anything wrong with the three of you living nicely together. You look like three nice people. You could live nicely together.
Yeah, the Golden Girls do it.
What? The Golden Girls do it? He's cute. All right. Go have a nice day. Lawsuit and the countersuit are dismissed.
What is our excuse? You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
It was just more than I could take. You know, I like you, while she's jabbing you in your back. You know.
That's not true.
Jones, because his rabbit attacked her and bit her on the ankle.
Order. All rise. Judge, this is case number 363 on the calendar in the matter of Mahal versus Jones. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat, ladies.
Mr. Jones, you are the owner of a petting zoo. Is that correct?
Yes,
Is that
Your
a
Honor.
children's petting zoo?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you were there with your children?
With my one son with a play group.
And you allege in your complaint that while there you were bitten by one of his animals?
Yes.
Tell me what happened.
I was there in the petting zoo area, and I happened to see a young boy with long pants on get bitten by the same rabbit. And I spoke to the mother, and I says, oh, check to see if he broke the skin. And when I said the skin, this rabbit came from behind the bench and grabbed my leg, bit in, and with his claws and everything, held my leg and wouldn't let go. I had to actually shake him loose from me.
When did you go to the doctor?
I went to the doctor's. It was almost 8:30 by the time I actually got the appointment.
The same day that
yes.
you arrived home?
Yes.
Do you have the doctor's report?
Yes.
May I see it, please?
It's all the medical.
I see, August 21st. Okay, clean wound, and then you were given some augmentin.
Augmentin.
Okay. Okay, sir. She
Your
says she
Honor.
was bitten by one of your rabbits.
I won't deny that, Your Honor, because it happens occasionally. I have no recollection of Mrs. Majul's incident. However, I might defer to my wife, who was in the barn at the same time we were. We were very busy that day, and she recalls offering some aid to some lady that came and mentioned that someone had been bitten by a rabbit.
Where's your wife?
It's my wife, Millie.
Could you step up, please? Do you remember this date in August? Do you remember this lady?
I don't remember the lady. I remember when the letter arrived and it said Oceanside. I remembered the group that arrived on the train that day at the farm.
Did you, in fact, assist someone who had been bitten?
A friend did come to me. I work at the entrance, and said that her friend was bitten by a rabbit in the petting area. I had hydrogen peroxide and Band-Aids for first aid, and she said, my friend has taken care of it. She has an antiseptic in her purse. And I said, well, I'll send somebody in to catch the rabbit and remove it from the petting area. When you see them, point out which rabbit it is so we can remove it.
Mr. Jones, I am going to show you a document that's entitled General Liability Notice of Occurrence of Claim.
Yes.
And I want to ask you if this is something that you filled out. Is that something that you filled out for your insurance company, sir?
What I did, I sent a letter to the insurance company along with Mrs. Majew's letter explaining, to the best of my knowledge, after talking to my wife, the situation.
Okay.
And this document is fairly accurate, yes.
Okay. Now, I will tell you that this came along with your statements, your complaint, and your answer, along with several other documents that you wish me to consider. I was concerned about something that I read here, and I'd like you to see if you can explain it to me. It says that OP, which I assume is you, I don't know what that stands for, allegedly bitten by a rabbit. However, rabbit did not belong to you, captured rabbit someplace, and placed it in a cage there at the petting zoo. Now, do you remember who said that? Was it you or your wife?
My daughter actually caught the rabbit, Your Honor. At least she said.
You the daughter?
She did. It's my daughter, Jennifer.
Jennifer, you caught this rabbit?
Yes, that's our policy. If one of the rabbits maybe gets too much handling, or they get sometimes too much handling, and we take them and put them in a cage in the back.
No, it says rabbit did not belong to you.
Right.
It was captured someplace.
I don't know about the captured part.
Well, that's what it says. Captured rabbit someplace and placed it in a cage there at the petting zoo. Does that mean it was captured someplace outside of the petting zoo? It was a wild rabbit?
What it is the public on occasion, if they don't want their animal anymore, excuse me, will drive by and let it out. So this rabbit was hanging around the petting area because of the other rabbits.
Do you know that for a fact, or is this something that you...
No, I know all the animals there, and this was an unusual rabbit.
So this was not a rabbit that was supposed to be on your petting farm, is that correct?
Correct.
When did you first know that it was there?
It had been there probably 2 days, and you have to kind of see our place to understand it's hard to catch them.
What do you mean it was an unusual rabbit?
Unusual. It wasn't one of ours. I know them, and I knew it wasn't ours.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
This rabbit was not our rabbit, and we didn't want this rabbit.
Unfortunately, what you're saying to me is only making matters worse, Miss Jones.
And later today,
show me, since May, your checks to Sign and Travel.
Did you hear what I said? I said there isn't any.
There is.
I haven't paid since May.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Lori Mahal is suing zoo owner Gil Jones because a rabbit attacked her. Gil says it wasn't his rabbit.
I have another question for you, because something that's concerned me. When you bring these animals into your petting zoo, are they tested for rabies?
Julie Ryan, she's the vet at the Orange County Animal Shelter. She comes on a regular basis to check the animals. They don't vaccinate rabbits for rabies, nor do they, if you were to get bit, they don't come and quarantine them.
Why?
Because that's what she told us. She's a head vet at the animal shelter. I called them to have clarity on that matter, and that's what...
So you mean to tell me that you can take in a wild rabbit, because as far as you know, this could have been a wild rabbit, wasn't one that was bred in your facility, and they are not vaccinated for rabies?
They don't vaccinate the rabbits for rabies. But this rabbit was, it was not our rabbit, and we didn't want this rabbit, but we couldn't catch it. So the shelter did come and take it. They came and took it.
Unfortunately, what you're saying to me is only making matters worse, Ms. Jones, and I'm going to tell you why. Because, according to you, you saw this rabbit on your premises for at least 2 days before this incident occurred, and it was not removed. You knew that it wasn't a rabbit that belonged on your premises, so you knew that it wasn't one that had a history of being gentle and being used to being touched. And yet you permitted all these children to come and play in your petting zoo, despite the fact that you knew that this one animal was not one that you could vouch for. this was an animal that you knew you had not seen before, did not belong there, and and you knew that at least 2 days before this lady was bitten. So you're liable for her injuries. Now, what do you believe your injuries are?
Okay.
Is the question. You were bitten by a rabbit.
I was bitten, and I still have the scars, and I have pictures here, and these pictures were taken a month after the bite.
Let me take a look at them.
You can see the scar, and I can also show you the leg. It's still got a big purple scar on my ankle.
Well, I would like to see it. Ooh, that's nasty.
And this is 4 months.
That is nasty. You say that you missed work.
Yes, I missed 41 hours of
So you missed a
work.
week's worth of work?
Yes.
And how much, why did you miss that much work?
Because it was still painful.
What kind of work do you do?
It was swelling. I work on my feet. I'm a cashier. So I couldn't stand on my feet.
So you missed a week's worth of work. You had certain medical bills. They were minimal because you covered, your medical bills are covered. Your request is for $1,250, and that, I assume, includes pain and suffering.
Yes.
That's a minimal request, Mr. Jones. Quite frankly, you are absolutely liable for this rabbit that was on your property. And sometimes unfortunate things happen, I'm certain. But in this particular case, it's even more egregious, sir, because you knew that this rabbit did not belong on your property. You had no idea where it came from. You had no idea whether it was a wild rabbit and could have been infected. And you did not, according to what I've heard today, exercise due care in removing that rabbit immediately from your premises, which you should have. The rabbit bit her. And she's entitled to be compensated. 4 months later, she still has a substantial scar as a result of this. Judgment is of the plaintiff in the amount of $1,250 as requested. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
That's our story, and that's the truth, and that's all we can say. We can't really expound on what the judge ruled. She made her point of law very clear.
And now the next case.
Parties on Torres versus Biles. Step forward, please.
31-year-old Michelle Torres says her mother's ex-husband, 33-year-old Roger Bile, borrowed Michelle's credit card for an Aspen vacation. Roger didn't pay her back because he didn't go to Aspen.
All right, Ms. Torres, the defendant was married to your mother.
Correct.
How long were they married?
About 6.5 years.
Is this your mother?
Yes, it is.
Are you now divorced, sir?
Yes.
But while you were married to her mother, according to this complaint, he borrowed some money from you by putting some tickets on a credit card that was yours.
Right, a ski package deal.
And you were all living together at this time?
Correct, I was living with them.
You made some payments?
Yeah, made some payments.
And he still owes you $1,100?
Correct.
So you want to tell me how this loan came about?
In December '94, Roger came to me and wanted to go to Aspen, Colorado for a ski trip. He asked me if
This is Roger.
This is Roger. He asked me if I would put the ski package on my American Express card because the Ritz-Carlton was running a special if you put it on your American Express card. He had previously had an American Express card, but it had been canceled. I went to my mom. I told my mom, asked her, Roger wants me to do this. Should I do this? She advised me not to. She said he still had unpaid bills and debts, but even though he made plenty of money, he's just kind of doesn't pay his bills. He had repeatedly promised that he would pay me back, and so I believed him, and it was a Christmas present for him and my mom and myself. It was a Christmas bonus as well. So I believed him.
What do you mean a Christmas bonus?
Well, I had worked for him, and he said it was my Christmas present and a bonus since I did such a good job working for his business. So we went on the ski trip. Everything was fine. We came back. He started...
The three of you?
The three of us went on the ski trip, went skiing, had a good time. And we came back, he started making payments, like he promised that he would pay my American Express card.
So this was a sign and travel on American Express?
Exactly.
So you don't have to pay it off at one time, you can pay off little bits at a time.
Right. So he kept promising me that he was going to pay it in larger chunks, and the chunks got smaller and smaller. And I believed him. He promised me that you're my stepdaughter, I would never screw you over, no matter what happens between him and my mom. In April of this year, he committed adultery on my mom, so my mom divorced him. And in May, he came to my work and said that he would give me $400 towards the $1,500 he owed me. The amount got down to $1,500 from $3,000.
It was originally $3,000.
Right.
He paid $1,500.
Correct.
He still owed $1,500.
Correct.
And then in May, he paid another $400.
Correct. Brought it down to $1,100.
Okay.
And right after I had him sign
So far, is that correct, sir? You made those payments?
It's been paid off.
Mr. Bile, so far, you made payments?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
3 weeks after Linda and I split up, everything from my home was stolen. Linda took it all. Every document, every paperwork, every receipt.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Michelle Torres is suing her mother's ex-husband, Roger Bile, for not paying for an Aspen vacation.
What happened after May? He gave you $400.
And signed this receipt telling me he would pay me the rest of the $1,100.
Show it to him, please.
That's his original signature.
You remember that? Mm-hmm. Okay. So, after May, did he make any payments?
No.
Okay. Why not?
The debt she's talking about for the Aspen trip was paid in full.
No, it wasn't.
Judge, don't speak.
The tickets that she's talking about that was on the sign and travel was for a trip for my ex-wife to go to Europe with her other daughter, and later on I found out her first husband.
Yeah.
That was put on sign and travel. The Aspen trip was paid in full.
Show me.
I have no receipts.
Just a second. How much was the Aspen trip, sir?
About $3 grand.
Well, show me that you paid the $3,000.
I'd love to, Your Honor. 3 weeks after Linda and I split up, everything from my home was stolen. Linda took it all. Every document, every paperwork, every receipt.
Mr. Bile, so what you're saying to me, sir, is that you acknowledged that you put $3,000 on her sign and travel.
Correct.
And
I did. Michelle did it. It was an agreement we had at home. She lived with me at the time.
But that you agreed to pay for it, and you did. What you just said to me was it was paid in full.
Yes.
But you do not have any receipts to show or any checks.
I don't have them. I had to give them to another court.
Well, Mr. Bile, I'm not so sure that you can't get duplicate copies of every check, sir. But I'm looking at your answer. And your answer says, if I am liable for this debt, I hope you will recognize that it's a community debt and a 50-50 split with my ex-wife, as well as the $4,000 I already paid. So in one respect, you say to me here, sir, that you've already paid it.
I have
And
paid.
here, you say, if it is a debt, half of it should be hers.
There was $1,500 left on the debt. I don't say there wasn't. The Aspen trip was $3,000. The Europe ticket for Linda was $1,500. That's the rest of the portion that needed to be paid. There was two separate things that went on her sign and travel.
When do you say she came into your house and took all the records?
It's about 3 weeks prior to that.
3 weeks prior to what?
To the signing of that receipt.
Okay.
The reason I signed that receipt is because they said it's the only way I could get back some tax documents I needed.
I know that you say you signed this thing under duress, sir. I'm not interested in that. You don't look like the kind of man who would sign something under duress.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
So what you're telling me is 3 weeks after they allegedly took all this stuff, you signed this document indicating you still owed her $1,500.
Yes.
Okay. So that your story to me, Mr. Bile, does not have a ring of truth to it. Because if you say she stole all your documents prior to this, then you should have all your documents subsequent to this. And if you admitted that you owed her $1,500 in May, you should have everything after May to show me that you paid her, because you say it's paid in full.
I haven't paid since May.
Well, why not?
Because I never, first of all, never got contacted from her or sent an invoice or any kind of documentation how much the payment was.
What do you mean how much the payment was? You signed something that said $1,500.
These were monthly payments that were set up.
Just a second. You had been paying sign and travel. Your
Monthly.
checks went to your checks went to sign and travel, correct? Show me since May your checks to sign and travel.
Did you hear what I said? I said there isn't any.
There is.
I haven't paid since May.
Then I'm asking you again, sir. You had paid before May, and you say you don't have those checks because they were all stolen. So since May, you should have the checks if you in fact paid. And if you didn't pay, then according to this signed document, which is a note, you still owe her the money, which is, at this point, $1,100 because you paid her $400 in May.
Okay.
Judgment is for the plaintiff for the amount of $1,100. That's all.
Why is that excuse? You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
The moral of this scenario revolves around accountability, communication, and responsibility. It emphasizes the importance of clear agreements and the consequences of not respecting those agreements. In relationships, whether romantic or not, honesty, timely action, and mutual respect are key to resolving disputes. Delays in addressing issues can lead to unnecessary complications, and relying on others for things like money or property can backfire if trust and understanding are not maintained. Taking responsibility for one's actions, like repaying loans and returning borrowed or shared items, is crucial in maintaining healthy relationships and resolving conflicts effectively. Yeah, you just said that you were living in your apartment, and the plaintiff was covering half the rent for both you and your children when you had them. So, it's clear that you were seeing your children within the last 3 or 4 months, right? Yes, but you haven't been paying child support, correct? Is this your boss here? Yes, it is. How did I know that? Are you paid on the books or off the books? On the books, I get paid $10.99. How much did you make last year? I didn't work for him last year. Yes, you did. That's Mr. Name right there, and he's not even standing up to get involved anymore. Now, did you file taxes last year? No, I did not. You just told me you were living with your boss before you moved in with her last year. What's your last name, sir? McHugh? Ma'am, do you want to leave now? No, ma'am, I'm staying. You might want to reconsider that. You pay in cash, avoid paying taxes, and don't pay child support. You're supposed to pay rent on your own. I did pay my share. Well, you didn't pay your own rent. Listen, Mr. Name, you're 37 years old, living in this country, working for him. You're supposed to pay taxes like everyone else, but you don't. You have children, 1 or maybe 2, and they visit you, but you take no financial responsibility for them. As for the rest of her lawsuit, she claims she lent you money for a lawyer, but I'm not concerned with the $199. She says you have no credit, and that's likely because you allegedly have no income. So, she ended up putting all the utilities in her name. She kept them in her name because she had no credit, and you didn't pay the bills, even though she was paying half the rent. So, you're saying you gave her half your paycheck. She went to my boss's house and received money from them after she moved out. Yes, after she moved out. I told her she threatened to cut everything off, and I told her to go ahead and do it. Did she? No, she didn't. And did you turn on the lights, use the stove, or plug in a coffee maker? Yes, I did. Well, when you use the utilities, you need to pay for them. Did you use the telephone? Yes, I did. If you're an American citizen using public services, you have to pay taxes. How much were your utility bills after she moved out? The dish bill was $292.23. I put a passcode on it around October 20th when I found out there were adult movies rented. Then the SH West bill was $260.14. Is that it? Yes, and the attorney bill was $552. That's $552. Is that correct? Yes. Now, about the cruise, Mr. Name. You told her to go ahead and book it. The cruise was planned before I met her, and we'd been talking about it with friends before she moved in. Her sister's friends with my boss. Did you tell her to go ahead and book the cruise? No, I didn't. That's not what you said here, sir. You're claiming that just because you broke up, you don't owe half of the cruise.